Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Naruto is denied training by Kakashi bashing. Before I start, please support for more amazing content, and do consider subscribing to my channel and share this video with your friends. This is written by Red Origins 2 and link in description and support writer. Let's start the video. Chapter 1, The Mask Falls. Naruto was not furious that Kakashi denied him training, but even worse, he was sad and nearly broken inside. The person he probably trusted the most after Hokage Neji betrayed him and for whom one ungrateful ass known as Uchiha Sasuke. But before leaving he gave him a piece of his mind. Naruto was in shock that Kakashi denied him training, but before Kakashi could take his plan further by giving Naruto to Ebisu, Naruto suddenly chuckled darkly and started to laugh maniacally. His laughter died down as he looked Kakashi in the eye and said 3 words that broke the man from inside. Worse than trash. After which Naruto left, not even sparing a glance at Kakashi, who was on his knees and crying. He had only one thought in mind: Okami, I have failed again. First Obito, then Rin, then Minato-sensei, then Naruto as a kid, and now Naruto as his Jonin-sensei. Naruto went to a training ground along a river and a waterfall and leaned on a tree and closed his eyes to sleep. Jiraiya was now searching the training grounds for his godson. He decided to research a little before going peeping and was now found here. He went to his peeping spot near a waterfall and saw his godson there with eyes closed and crying silent tears. His heart wrenched and decided to go confront and comfort him. He tapped Naruto's shoulder, who opened his eyes and wiped his tears to look at him and widened his eyes. He smiled a little, but it was a completely forced and fake smile, as Jiraiya could tell, and said, "Jiraiya-sama, what do you need of me?" Jiraiya blinked, wondering why he was not given a nickname, and replied, "I came here and say you crying Gaki. Care to share what happened, as according to the Hokage and my spies, you are always happy," and sat beside Naruto waiting for an explanation. Naruto sighed and replied, "It's a mask, Jiraiya-sama, and I recently had my trust broken again, like it has always happened." Jiraiya hummed and said, "Let me guess, you were declined training from your so-called sensei, and now you think that he is another demon hater." Naruto looked at Jiraiya in surprise and nodded while wanting to ask the unasked question. Jiraiya replied, "It happened all the times with me, so I can understand your pain." Naruto nodded and looked down again while he remembered something. He stood up and asked Jiraiya-sama, "Can you remove this Gojo Fuin, 5-pronged seal, please?" As he removed his jumpsuit and mesh shirt beneath and channeled his chakra to reveal the Hakno Fuin Shiki, 8 trigram sealing style. Jiraiya was shocked by Naruto's knowledge in seals, but given his heritage, he chuckled inwardly. He studied the Yondaime seal, and he had to say one thing: it was a piece of art, but he soon saw the other seal over it, which was made to weaken Naruto and his chakra control and make his chakra go haywire. He hummed and said, "I heard that you met my old teammate Orochimaru in the second stage of the exams. I take it is his work." Naruto nodded and replied, "I can also remove it, but using a shadow clone for this is dangerous," as if he dispels midway. "I don't know what will happen to the seal." Jiraiya nodded and said, "You have a vast knowledge of seals for a genin or a shinobi for that matter, and the fact that you taught it to yourself is praiseworthy." Naruto uncomfortably shifted, which caught Jiraiya's eye. Outside, he began to unseal the seal, but on the inside, he made a point to give his sensei a beatdown that was worse than what Tsunade had given him the time he peeked on her. Naruto was not familiar with getting praise, and it was very bad for a child of only 12 years. Jiraiya then decided to help Naruto a little. He surveyed the Fuin Shiki with his right index finger and made a certain pattern. Soon, Naruto felt some changes in his chakra and decided to ask Jiraiya about it. Naruto put on his jumpsuit and asked, "What did you do with my seal, Jiraiya-sama?" Jiraiya chuckled and replied, "I did nothing more than stealing a bit of Kyuubi's powers. You would have noticed the seal and its function, if I am sure." Naruto nodded as Jiraiya continued, "Currently your seal just takes the Kyuubi's chakra and filters it for you, but I stole the Kyuubi's high affinity for Katan and Futon. I can steal more of its abilities, but for that, I have to weaken the seal, which I am sure is not the right thing to do for now." Naruto nodded and smiled and said, "Arigato, Jiraiya-sama." Jiraiya nodded and said, "But for now, let's go to the real business." Naruto looked confused as Jiraiya said, "I want to train you and make you my apprentice." Naruto was wide-eyed and his mouth was slightly agape. Despite his shocked state, Jiraiya continued, "Sarutobi-sensei has given orders and there are many other things I have to discuss." Naruto nodded and tears were brimming in his eyes. He wiped them off and said with full determination, "Of course, Jiraiya-sensei. I will not make you regret that. I will be even better than your previous disciple, and you will be renowned as the person to train 2 of the greatest Hokages in Konoha's history." Jiraiya for a moment thought he was looking at a young Minato with the confidence of Kushina and smiled. He then thought it would be best for him to tell Naruto about him being his godfather. To say Naruto was angry was like saying Iwagakure like the 4th Hokage. He physically and verbally berated him, but even Tuoli calmed down and hugged Jiraiya upon knowing about his only left family. Naruto separated from Jiraiya and said, "Well, I can't call you Jiraiya-sensei or Jiraiya-sama, now can I? So your new name is Erosenin." Jiraiya fell on his face on the ground as he remembered another Uzumaki call him that. Afterwards Naruto said, "Ero-senin, please tell me about my parents." Jiraiya quickly shook his head and said, "Sorry Naruto, I can't tell you that, but I can tell you that they were great ninja, died in Kyuubi attack, made enemies and blah blah. Tell me something I don't know," interjected Naruto. Jiraiya looked baffled, but before he could say anything Naruto said in a sad tone, "They say that if your parents are dead and you know their name, they didn't abandon you, but if you don't know their name, they abandoned you. I don't have anything. Sasuke's Sharingan means he can learn whatever super awesome technique Kakashi is gonna teach him instantly. And Neji's got that Juken Taijutsu that he gets from his family, and it's just..." Naruto trailed off, but a deep frown had already settled across Jiraiya's face as the sun set in the distance. I feel like everyone's just had all these cool moves and secret techniques just given to them growing up, and I'm just left picking up the scraps or stealing something." Naruto, having seemingly voiced the weighing angst in his body, leaned back on the river, resting his hands behind his head and stared up at the sky. Jiraiya's expression remained unchanging, but his eyes grew distant and guilty. "So please, tell me anything you know about my parents to ease my pain." Jiraiya could not hold it any longer. He hugged Naruto and shed tears with him. He thought Sensei said that if anyone knew of Naruto's heritage, IWA would be up in arms, so what should I do? But then he had a brilliant idea and he had a smug smirk on his face. He separated from Naruto and said, "Sensei said that if anyone knew of your heritage, IWA would be up in arms, but that would be if they got to know." Naruto himself realized that idea and smirked and motioned for Jiraiya to continue. Jiraiya then said, "First things first, you will not interrupt me and ask any questions after I am done." Naruto nodded and Jiraiya told him about his mother first, and some of her tales along with his birth events. Naruto was never more happy. He had a caring mother who happened to be the Kai Chishio no Habanero. Then Jiraiya told him about his father. At first Naruto was again angry, but this time it was like saying that Konoha and IWA have a friendly relationship. Naruto nearly WNT Kyuubi if not for Jiraiya consoling him and telling him to stand in place of his father and make the choice. After that, considering his father's circumstances, he understood and promised to continue both of their legacies. Naruto then asked Jiraiya, "Where are the scrolls and other things they left me?" Jiraiya replied, "Everything is in your parents' house, the Uzumaki compound and the monument of your father, though they gave me a few elemental manipulation scrolls and jutsu scrolls just in case, but your highly advanced Uzumaki Fuinjutsu material and your father's notes of the Rasengan and the Hiraishin are in the compound. In your father's head is his library of scrolls along with formal kimonos representing the Uzumaki clan and an armory." Naruto had stars in his eyes and was very thankful to his parents for all of this. He recovered and said, "I think after the exams, it would be good to take those items back." Jiraiya nodded and said, "Well, it's late today. I think you should come tomorrow at 5 a.m. to start your training for the month. Konoha won't know what hit them after the month." Naruto nodded and hugged Jiraiya one more time before going back to his house to get ready for the month. The next day, Naruto arrived at 5 a.m. and saw Jiraiya also arriving, approached him and said, "Well, Sensei, what would be my schedule for the month?" "Do you know the Kage Bunshin's special ability?" asked Jiraiya. Naruto nodded and replied, "Yes, but I had nothing to do and nothing to study from." Jiraiya frowned and continued, "Well, first we will take your elemental affinity test. You have Katan and Futon from the Kyuubi, but if I am right, you can also have Suiton and Raiten as they were your parents' affinities." Naruto looked confused as Jiraiya elaborated, "Affinities are passed from parents. It's a rare chance that someone develops an affinity for an element which was not related to their parents. That's why all of the Uchiha clan members had either a primary or secondary Katan affinity, and the Sarutobi clan members have either Doton or Katan as one of their affinities." Naruto nodded as Jiraiya handed him a chakra paper. Naruto poured his chakra into the paper and both of them were shocked as the paper split into 4 pieces, one piece shredded into small bits, the second one burned to nothing but ash. The third one got so wet that it disintegrated and the last one crinkled to show that Naruto has all the affinities except Doton. Jiraiya whistled and said, "Well, you have strong Katan, Suiton and Futon affinities and a regular Raiten affinity. Sensei was not joking when he called you the number 1 unpredictable ninja." Naruto grinned and said, "Well, I also have a moniker to live up to." Jiraiya chuckled and said, "Well, Naruto, I want you to make 80 clones who will work. 10 each will work on your affinities, 20 will focus on jutsu and cutting down hand signs, while 20 other will work with my 5 clones to make 2 special seals. While your clones will be doing this, you will work on speed, endurance and physical training along with taijutsu, fuinjutsu and kuchiyos no jutsu, summoning technique, with me every day along with some breaks." Naruto nodded as he made 80 clones. Jiraiya rose his eyebrows amusement, and made 5 of his clones. He then said, "I want 10 of you to take a leaf and cut it with just your chakra. If you have any problem, take this scroll. This has the first exercise and its details," as he threw a scroll to a group of 10 clones who went to do as asked. He then told 2 other groups to burn a leaf and crinkle a leaf with their chakra and gave them the respective scrolls. He then turned to the group for Sueton manipulation and told them to reverse the flow of water in a river for minimum 15 minutes with their chakra and gave them their scroll. He then turned to the group for jutsu practicing and said, first I want you to practice making hand signs with speed and sense how your chakra molds when you make a specific seal. After 1 week, I will give you your scrolls. They nodded and left to practice making hand signs and studying. He then turned to the last group and said, I want you to work with my clones here to figure out a seal to nullify the Byakugan and the Sharingan. It would be very helpful, and I personally think that you are a lower level 9 seal master. I myself am a level 9 borderline level 10 seal master. We can figure this out. They nodded and left. Jiraiya then turned to Naruto and said, well, first I want you to sign this, as he removed the toad summoning contract from his back and unrolled it in front of Naruto. Naruto started jumping and excitedly signed the toad contract with his blood. Jiraiya put the scroll back on and said, now, I want you to take your blood, do these hand signs and put enough chakra to summon a decent toad. Naruto took his blood from his thumb, which he pricked for the contract, did the hand signs and slammed his hand on the ground. Kuchios no Jutsu. A seal array appeared on the ground, followed by a large poof of smoke. When the smoke cleared, there was a toad twice as large as Jiraiya standing in front of Naruto and Jiraiya. Jiraiya was again amused and shocked as Naruto on his first try summoned a decent-sized toad whom he could ride on. The toad saw Jiraiya and Naruto and said, Jiraiya-sama, why have you summoned me? Jiraiya shook his head and said, it was not me, Gama. It was the new summoner, Naruto here, who summoned you. Naruto waved and smiled, making his presence known, and said, yes, Gama-san, I summoned you as sensei gave me the contract to sign. Gama nodded and replied, no problem. It's great you summoned someone as big as me on your first try. Try to pour more chakra to summon our boss. He would like meet a new summoner after all. A piece of advice, keep sake with you and treat all toads with respect, especially Gamabunta-sama and Shima-sama, and never call her old. Naruto saw Jiraiya shuddering, decided to take Gama's advice. He thanked Gama, who poofed away back to Mayabokuzan. He took out a storage scroll and took out 5 sake bottles and saw Jiraiya with a questioning look in his eyes. He elaborated, no, I don't drink sake, just keep it for bargains with some people and sometime for a special occasion. Jiraiya breathed a sigh of relief. After all, he did not need another blonde, Senju-related, sake-obsessed person in his life. Naruto kept the sake bottles with himself and decided to summon another time with more chakra than before. He summoned again, and this time a large toad came out with a smoking pipe in his mouth. Jiraiya's eyes were the size of saucers, while Gamabunta was also wondering as to how the new summoner summoned him so quickly. He saw a kid in front of eyes and nearly shouted Minato out of his mouth. He looked around and said, who are you, Gaki, and where is Jiraiya? Naruto stood up and answered, I am the new summoner, Uzumaki Naruto, and sensei is down there, as he pointed towards the ground where Jiraiya had a proud smile on his face. Gamabunta widened his eyes and thought Minato's Gaki as he asked, you are the one who summoned me? Naruto nodded and unsealed some sake bottles. Gamabunta had a gleam in his eyes as Naruto opened one bottle and said, care for a drink, Gamabunta-sama? Gamabunta happily nodded as drank all the sake Naruto had and made him an official toad summoner. When Naruto got down, he saw Jiraiya drawing circles on the ground and sulking while saying something like toads and blonde Gakis being friends. Then Naruto and Jiraiya went to training. Jiraiya first put the resistance seals on his arms and legs and decided to put the gravity seal later because of Naruto's physical state. He made Naruto run for the entire week until he got acquainted with his seals. By the end of the month, Naruto was a lot better than before. Even grew a few inches because of the diet changes. He was currently in his house reading the tales of an utter gutsy shinobi. He was resting as tomorrow was the exam day, and he wanted to be in top form to kick Neji's ass and spit in face of Sasuke. Over the month, he learned basic elemental manipulation. He was able to cut the leaf by the end of the 3rd week and burn it midway the 4th week. He was able to reverse the flow of water for 12 minutes, so in Jiraiya's and his eyes, he had still not completed the first stage of Sueton manipulation. His right-on manipulation was also completed while he learnt the basics of the Kawasakumite, frog katas. Jiraiya said that to continue this style, he had to master Senjutsu first. When Naruto asked about Senjutsu, Jiraiya said that he would tell him about that during the training trip, as Senjutsu was least used and most dangerous shinobi art. He learned few jutsus of his elements, and was able to do them with a few less seals. He and Jiraiya also made 2 separate seals to block the Byakugan and the Sharingan, and had them on his left and right hand respectively. He was on the level 2 of resistance seals, and his chakra control was also much better than before. During that time, Jiraiya got updated as lower level 10 seal master, and Naruto himself got his certification as middle level 9 seal master. Naruto still remembered when Jiraiya called him Minato when he wore his new clothes and got new supplies. Naruto and Jiraiya walked into the weapon shop. Jiraiya told him about started to look for clothes. After looking for a few minutes, he got into the changing room and came out. Jiraiya was wide-eyed and his mouth was slightly agape and whispered Minato. Naruto was wearing a black Konoha full-sleeve undershirt, black shinobi pants tucked into black boots. He wore a red glazy cloak going to his ankles along with black fingerless metal-plated gloves. He had his kunai and shuriken pouch on his right thigh. A pouch on his left hip which had explosive tags, paralysis seals, chakra suppression seals and some fukahoin, fire suppression seal. He had a pouch on his right hip which had 2 scrolls which contained extra kunai and shuriken respectively. 200 long ninja wire and 20 smoke bombs. His kunai were special chakra conductive ones for him to channel his elemental chakra. He paid for the items and found the owner to be a good man who did not hate him. When he first looked at Naruto, he also widened his eyes but quickly recovered. Naruto then found out that he was Tenten's father and asked Tenten's opinion on Neji and Lee. He replied, "She is just like Neji. She says that you are a dead last will never beat Neji because he was the rookie of the year." Naruto chuckled, which covered the sound of Tenten coming through the door, and replied, "If I am right, then her idol is Senju Tsunade, right?" The man nodded as they failed to notice Tenten standing and listening to their conversation. Naruto continued, "Well, Tsunade was the kunoichi of the year and Jiraiya was the dead last. Now I think everyone knows who is the most powerful and loyal member of the Sannin, and who is roaming the nations as a drunken bitch and wasting her money." Before anyone could say anything, he spoke. "Neji may be more powerful, but he is not a better ninja. At least Lee doesn't say that it is not his fate to become a ninja because he can't use chakra. At least he accepts it and motivates himself to work harder. And what about Neji? If his fate is to protect the main family, then why did he try to kill Hinata, who he is supposed to protect? Wasn't he himself trying to change his own fate?" Naruto took 5 sets of his clothes and shined out of the shop along with Jiraiya, leaving Tenten to think for herself. Another interesting event happened when he awoke his ability to use Kongo Fuza, adamant sealing chains. Naruto was being beaten down by Jiraiya, who was making Naruto observe and fight at the same time to grow his instincts and experience. Suddenly, when Jiraiya was about to land a punch on Naruto's face, 2 golden-colored chains came from his torso and protected him. The shock on his and Jiraiya's face was evident. He then learned that his ability will grow over time and the chains will also grow strong. He could currently manifest 2 chains at a time to help him. Naruto smirked, and just had one thought in mind: they won't know what hit them. Chapter 2: Hyuga vs. Uzumaki. Everyone except Naruto stood in the arena. Heck, even Kakashi was on time with Sasuke and was watching the match from the stands along with the other jonin. In the stands? These seats had better be good, forehead. From her spot, Sakura bristled, but remained quiet. The seats were good, after all. She'd shown up nearly 3 hours early to ensure they'd all gotten a front row seat to Sasuke-kun's fight. As if she'd sit in the nosebleed for such an event. As if, pig, Sakura said finally, moving aside and patting the seat next to her that she had saved for her rival. "Yo, Sakura, Ino!" barked Kiba, sliding into 2 seats in front of the girls and slinging his feet up on the railing. "Thanks for saving us such rocking seats." Hinata, taking great care to only occupy the space of 1 seat, gave a small bow in appreciation to the Team 7 matriarch. Hi. She stammered quietly, "Thank you, Sakura-san." "Oh." Sakura laughed, waving away their gratitude. "It was nothing. I'm just happy we all get to sit together." "For sure." Kiba nodded, a feral grin stretching across his lips. "And hopefully watch our teammates kick some foreign ninja ass? My boy Shino is gonna kick some major ass." "While I'm sure," Ino challenged, leaning back and checking her nails to accentuate her condescension, "that Shino had prepared far more thoroughly than you would have, dog breath." The blonde chose to make a dramatic pause for the sole purpose of basking in the low, growling noise coming from the Inuzuka before continuing. "But," she finished with a matter-of-fact tone, "Shikamaru has been training with Asuma-sensei all month. And he's even been awake for it all. I'd say he's got this tournament on lock." The implications of a conscious Nara were lost on no one. It was one of their generation's open secrets, much to the confusion of their academy teachers, but each and every student, when asked who the smartest in the class was, would point straight at the usually sleeping scion of the Nara class. For Shikamaru to actually be awake and actively interested in training would be very, very troublesome for his opponent. More interesting to Sakura, however, than Shikamaru's sudden deviation from narcolepsy was the almost proud inflection in Ino's voice as she described the teammate. The same teammate who, just months before after assignments, Ino had spent over an hour venting to Sakura, finding new and creative combination of the words shit, lazy, and asshole. "Well, Kakashi-sensei has been training Sasuke-kun all month, too," Sakura countered, never one to let Ino have the last laugh. "He's been showing him his elite, signature jutsu, so I don't think anyone else stands a chance." From his seat, Kiba suddenly staggered, his hands flying to the side of his face with a dramatic gasp. "What?" he whispered, turning to the others bewildered. Sakura thinks that Sasuke is going to win something? I am shocked, I tell you. Sakura's fist was already posed to strike, but Ino's rolled-up fight bill beat her to the punch, whacking the Inuzuka upside the head. Don't be a jackass, mutt. Ino glared. She's allowed to root for her teammates. Kiba rolled his eyes, waving his chastisement away with a dismissive hand. Please, he shot back. Then let's hear her support her other teammate. You know, the one who barely got by me to be here? Sakura blinked. Yeah, Sakura-san, Choji smacked, suddenly entering the conversation only after fisting another handful of popcorn into his mouth. What about Naruto? Sakura blinked again, confused. What about Naruto? It was only as the blank stares of her classmates met her own that Sakura came to the sudden and startling conclusion that she had completely forgotten about the blonde idiot. Kiba, always the first to comment, slapped a hand to his forehead with a sigh. Unbelievable. He muttered, I know he's dead last and all, but get out of Sasuke's but for like 2 seconds, would you? No. Sakura shot back, rolling onto the defensive. I don't know where he is. I haven't seen him in a month. Ino gave the girl a look that made Sakura feel like she'd rather be hiding under her covers at home. You mean to tell me that you, his teammate and general center of orbit, haven't heard a peep from the single loudest ninja in the history of ninja? Well, it sounded stupid when you said it like that. No, I know. But she didn't know. She honestly had no idea where the boy had been or who he had been training, but she suddenly felt absolutely awful for not knowing. Idiot or not, Naruto was her teammate. Of course, she wanted him to do well. How well he didn't come to our training ground. Sakura felt her stomach churn at how pitiful of an excuse that was. And you didn't wonder where he had been? Sakura didn't even register who had asked her, as suddenly the proctor's voice filled the arena. Kagebox. Hokage-dano. Fighting annoyance from his face, Sarutobi turned to the veiled Kazekage with a well-practiced, welcoming smile. Yes, Kazekage-dano? Your village is quite lovely. This arena is truly something to remember for a lifetime. Outwardly, the aged Kage's lips drew into a gracious smile. He even complimented the gesture with a small nod from his seat. I thank you, Kazekage-dano. Many people and great individuals work tirelessly at its upkeep. Inwardly, the Sandaime bit down a sneer. He was already on edge with his wayward student running rampant through the examination. The last thing he needed was to be hounded with asinine questions by an overbearing foreign leader. What's more, the Kazekage was different than the last he had met. The man. Less hardline autocrat, more creepy movie villain, his ANBU had confided to him after surveying the man for hours. Sarutobi sighed. As if he needed more stress at his age. And for the opening match of these Chunin exam finals, please welcome Hyuga Neji to Arena Center. Joining Neji for his final preparations is his squad leader, Mato Guy of Konohagakure, said the proctor with a voice-amplifying technique. The arena erupted into a raucous applause. Hyuga were always a crowd favorite in home exams. The clan usually shelled out thousands to reserve prime seats for all its members, main house and branch. Even at Chunin level, the opportunity to witness the legendary Byakugan was a treat in and of itself. I have heard much of this boy's master. The Kazekage's gravel voice seemed to hiss. He must have trained a truly formidable student. Sarutobi nodded firmly. At least this was conversation about the task at hand for once. Mato Guy is one of Konoha's foremost taijutsu experts. Young Neji is extremely capable for a shinobi his age. The Kazekage chuckled behind his veil, his eyes locked on the arena. Then let us hope his challenge is up to the task. And now, facing Hyuga Neji in round 1, please welcome Uzumaki Naruto to the arena, continued the proctor. For a moment, the arena was silent, and the Hokage felt his heart clench in his chest. But then, he heard it. Slower, and definitely less enthusiastic than for the first combatant, Sarutobi was unable to fight a proud smile that stretched across his face as the crowd gave a Konoha shinobi support. It had seemed that things might finally be looking up for. There was a puff next to the proctor, and it revealed a small toad who said something to the proctor, who cleared his throat and continued. Assisting his apprentice in his final preparations is Densetsu no Sanen's Gama Senin Jiraiya. The moderate applause that had filled the arena went silent, and Sarutobi lurched in his chair. Hokage-dano. The Kazekage said urgently, his voice alarmed. I was not told Jiraiya-dano would be in attendance. You were not told, Kazekage-dano? The elder Kage grit out tersely, his eyes narrowing at this sudden surprise. Because I was not aware of this sudden development. Suddenly there was large puff of smoke in the arena. When it cleared, it showed the toad boss Gamabunta and 2 other people on his head. Suddenly a voice cried out, Myobokuzen's all-known Gama Senin, whose stories are spread in all directions, the one whom the ladies are mad after, Gama Senin Jiraiya. Then another voice cried out, the unappreciated hero of Konoha, last of a royal line and the apprentice of the great Jiraiya-sama, Uzumaki Naruto. The smoke fully cleared to show Naruto and Jiraiya leaning on each other, but nearly everyone's eyes went out of their sockets. For a moment they confused Naruto for the Yondaime Hokage. Then Gamabunta also spoke up, Myobokuzen's great toad boss, the one who has served for 3 generations and the one who helped the Yondaime against the Kyuubi, Gamoebun Gamabunta. Gamabunta went back in a puff of smoke, leaving only Jiraiya, Neji, Naruto and Genma in the arena. Jiraiya also soon left to the roof of the arena to watch the match from a special view. In the stands, Kakashi was now feeling even guilty. Naruto reminded him so much of his sensei, and thinking about him made him realize about his failures. Sakura near him stuttered out, "Sensei, is that really Jiraiya-sama?" Kakashi nodded and answered, "Yes, Sakura, it is really Jiraiya-sama. Due to some events, the Yondaime Hokage entrusted Jiraiya-sama to train Naruto, but I didn't know he would appear so soon." The other Jonin already knew that by events Kakashi meant the Kyuubi, but they did not know about Naruto's heritage. Ino nudged her, "Hey, I know you're worried about Sasuke-kun, but Naruto's match is first, so why don't you stop fretting and cheer him on?" Sakura turned to look at her old friend and smiled. "Yeah? The first match of the Chunin exams will now begin. Will Hyuga, Neji and Uzumaki Naruto step forward while the other competitors go to the fighter's box to wait until it is your turn," said the examiner, Genma. As the other participants left the two, Ino couldn't help but say, "He's up against Neji, can he actually win against him?" "Two don't know," Sakura said honestly as she remembered their mission to Wave Country, and their time in the Forest of Death. She smiled slightly, "But he won't go down easy. The kid doesn't stand a chance. He's fighting a Hyuga." Someone in the audience spoke up and several others agreed with him. Kiba just grinned slightly at that and thought, "Yeah, that's what I thought too. Look at what happened though. I got my ass kicked." "Kagebox. The boy will have an easy win," spoke the Kazekage. Hiruzen let a small smirk grace his lips and replied, "We shall see." Arena. "I vow to win," Naruto spoke as he thrust out his hand towards Neji. He remembered his oath to Hinata back in the preliminaries and silently swore that he would do everything within his power to defeat Neji. "You appear to believe you can win," Neji chuckled in amusement. "You cannot change destiny though. Fate has already decided the outcome of this match. I cannot wait to see your eyes when you realize the truth," he continued as he settled into his Juken stance. Naruto just stood there and said nothing in response. "Let the first match of the Chunin exam finals begin now," Genma called out as he jumped out of the way of the two. Almost immediately Naruto made a hand seal, Tajua Kage Bunshin on Jutsu, multiple shadow clone technique. 50 shadow clones popped into existence in front of Naruto, and he called out, "Charge!" Stands. The kid knows the Tajua Kage Bunshin on Jutsu, that's a Jonin level Kenjutsu. Where did he learn that, and more importantly, how can he use it so effortlessly? Izumo asked as he observed the fight. "I don't understand, can't even pull off a simple Bunshin no Jutsu, can he use a more powerful version of the technique?" asked Kotetsu in confusion. Arena. The fool Neji thought as the clones charged. He activated his Byakugan and smirked at the oncoming one-man army and thought, his clones have an equal amount of chakra in them, so I am unable to ascertain which one is the real one, but you cannot fool my eyes. He dodged the attacks the clones sent at him and charged right at Naruto. The one who hangs back while his clones fight is the real one. He lands a Juken strike at Naruto's heart and sends him crashing into the nearby tree and called out, "It's over." The Naruto he hit, however, suddenly disappeared in a puff of smoke. A moment later, Nani? The ground below at his feet suddenly parted as 2 golden chains came out and hit him on the chin. In the stands, everyone's eyes widened when they saw the famous chakra chains of Uzumaki Kushina back in action after 12 years. The most affected were Kurenai, Enko and Yugao, as they were Kushina's students and started to figure out about Naruto. Kurenai suddenly said he is Sensei's son for sure. Every Jonin looked at her in disbelief while Kakashi glanced at her with the corner of his eye. Enko decided to continue the same aptitude for pranks. Last name Uzumaki. Those chains, and Sensei was taken off duty 7 months before that Gaki's birthday. All the dots connect. Naichan. Ino asked, "Who are you talking about, Kurenai-sensei?" Before she could say anything, Kakashi said, "Nothing, Ino. You should concentrate on the match." And Kurenai and Enko, "Shut your goddamn mouth if you don't want to blurt out a SS class secret and get executed without a trial." This seemed to shut them up and confirm the thing for others, who also shut up. Back in arena, Neji glared and asked, "How did you do it? I always kept my eyes on your original body. Do you really think I was using those clones to fight you? I was just using them to find out what you were made of. Do you really think I'm stupid enough to fight a Hyuga in close combat without an ace up my sleeve?" Naruto shot back with a smirk. This ignorant little Neji trailed off as his eyes narrowed. "The clones also served another purpose," Naruto stated. "And what might that be?" asked the Hyuga progeny. "To find out if there was gap in your line of sight, the blonde answered truthfully. Nani? Neji turned swiftly in surprise but was unprepared for one of Naruto's clones to land a rather powerful punch to his face. The blow sent him flying back with the clones in pursuit. He located the gap in the Byakugan with his clones, was the thought of each Hyuga in the battlefield. Finish him now! Naruto shouted to his clones as they took out their weapons to finish the job. I have no choice. I must use that jutsu, Neji thought as he touched back down on solid ground and expelled chakra from all over his body. Hakusho Kaiten. 8 trigrams palms heavenly rotation, he called out as he spun and encased himself in a large ball of spinning chakra. The clones were destroyed in moments. Stands? He's really pushing Neji into a corner, Ino said in disbelief. Go Naruto! Sakura cheered at seeing her teammate beating the Hyuga. I don't believe it, Izumo said, not believing what he was seeing. This kid, Kotetsu muttered under his breath as he watched Neji execute a Kaiten. That plan was worthy of a practical joke, Izumo said as he let a small grin form on his lips. Sasuke was furious because Naruto had not used anything that he could copy and make use of, while Kakashi was feeling proud and guilty at the same time. He shook his thoughts and said, well Guy, it looks like Naruto is getting better of Neji. Guy reluctantly nodded and said if he has any wild cards from Jiraiya-sama, then even Neji can't do anything against him, as he revealed his only trump card to Naruto-kun's basic jutsu. Kage box. Impressive, the Hokage commented as he smiled slightly. The boy thought up a plan almost instantly to throw off his opponent, he continued. The Kazekage remained silent as he kept his calculating eyes on the arena below. Arena. Do you see how you cannot change destiny? My fate is to win this match. You cannot stand against fate, Neji told him. Naruto remained silent, so he continued, I have had enough of your games. I shall end this now. He charged forward faster than before and yelled Hakurokujian Sho. 8 trigrams 64 palms. But he stopped midway and widened his eyes and was trying to speak something. The other Hyugas also activated their Byakugan and were in the same state. Neji finally regained himself and said, How am I not able to see your Tenketsus? It's like you have vanished from the Byakugan at all. Everyone was not able to believe what Neji had just said, but they saw the entire Hyuga clan nod and decided to agree. Naruto in the stands and Jiraiya on the roof smirked as Naruto removed his left glove and showed the back of his hand to Neji, which had a seal, and said this seal nullifies all the properties of the Byakugan, so your so-called perfect taijutsu is useless against me and being a Hyuga and Fate's bitch. I don't think you know any ninjutsu except for the Academy 3. Stands? He's done for, Izumo sighed listening to the blonde. No one in the stands could believe that Naruto just nullified the Byakugan, one of the 3 great dojutsus. I never expected this outcome, said Ino as she shook her head as she leaned back. Naruto Sakura thought as she remembered what he had done in the preliminaries and started to think how useless she is and how far she is behind her teammates. Kage box. Well, that is something that could earn promotion on its own. It's not every day you nullify the Byakugan, said the Hokage. The Kazekage nodded, but he was seething under his veil and furious on the inside and thought I should kill that damn brat. He may become someone even more problematic than Pain. Arena. He clenched his as he settled his gaze on his opponent. Now do you understand, bastard? I had you beat from the start. I just wanted you to show me your trump cards first so I knew what to expect. Neji's eyes widened at that and thought he had this plan from the start. Suddenly 4 kunai on the field puffed to reveal 5 Kage Bunshin who surrounded Neji along with the real Naruto and made a pentagram around him. The clones rushed at speeds as fast as Lee without his weights and tied each of Neji's limbs with a ninja wire which they clenched with their teeth. Stands? He is as fast as Lee without his weights, but how? Asked a flabbergasted guy. Because of resistance seals, called out a voice from behind. Everyone turned back to see Jiraiya with a smirk on his face. Everyone nodded, understanding what Jiraiya meant. Jiraiya then approached Kakashi and said, Well Kakashi, you have lost every right on him. Currently he is not a member of your team and he will certainly gain a promotion, and even the council can't do anything about that, I must say. He was very angry and broken that his sensei did this to his surrogate father's son. Kakashi's eyes widened in shock and he said, You mean? Jiraiya nodded and said, Well, I found a diamond in the rough. His genius is not as much as Minato but definitely as good as yours when you were a kid, and he has 4 nature affinities. Every Jonin widened their eyes. Not even Kages had 4 affinities on such a young age. As Jiraiya continued, you could have passed on your right unjutsus to someone but you lost your chance. Kakashi was now filled with more guilt as Jiraiya motioned him to look at the match. Arena. Now each of Neji's limbs was with 1 clone each. Suddenly the real Naruto in front of Neji rushed at him and tied a ninja wire around his torso and clenched it in his teeth. The clones then came to Naruto and gave their wires to Naruto, who was now holding 5 wires in his mouth. Naruto stepped back and nodded to all the clones. The 4 clones made hand signs and called out. Katan, Ryuka no Jutsu, Fire Release, Dragon Fire Technique. Suetun, Teppadama, Water Release, Gunshot. Right and Jibashi, Lightning Release, Electromagnetic Murder. Futon de Tapa, Wind Release, Great Breakthrough. Everyone watched with wide eyes as one clone exhaled fire like a projectile towards Neji as he was burning and screaming. When the flame cleared, he had first and second degree burns on his body. Soon an orb of water was spewed from another clone's mouth and gave Neji some relief, but it was short-lived as the third clone slammed his hands on the ground and electricity traveled towards him, electrocuting and numbing him. The last clone exhaled wind from his mouth as it blew Neji to the arena wall where he slammed and was bleeding from the various cuts on his body. The clones went up in a puff of smoke as Naruto approached Neji. Neji looked up and said, "How?" Naruto answered, "Through hard work, anyone could beat a genius. Lee never said that it was not his fate or something like that. Instead he worked hard and here he is today, same as with me." Neji nodded and looked up at the sky as the proctor called out, "Shosha Uzumaki Naruto." The crowd erupted in claps and cheers as Naruto looked around with a happy and true smile on his face and made his way back to the participants' box. "Stands?" he won, screamed Sakura as she pumped her fist into the air and said, "Shinaro." The Jonin were surprised and they agreed with Jiraiya as how Naruto showed 4 nature affinities and was only slightly winded from that attack. Kakashi noticed something but decided to stay quiet about it. Matches. Sasuke vs. Gaara. Sasuke tried Chidori and failed and reluctantly gave up but increased Gaara's bloodlust a lot. Chapter 3, The Invasion. Naruto stood in the same position eyeing down his opponent. He still had the same confident smile on his face. He had seen Gaara fight Lee nearly a month ago, and he saw the destructive power that boy held, and he was certain that he probably grew even stronger in the past month. That didn't matter to Naruto though. He was confident in his own growth and progression, and he knew that he could take Gaara easily. Jiraiya had trained him for this moment, and he worked incredibly hard in that month. He wanted to make his parents proud and he wanted to prove a point to everyone here. Uzumaki Naruto, the demon child of Konoha, was no more. In front of everyone was the new Naruto. "I'm sure you two already know the rules. Now are you ready to begin this fight?" asked Genma. Both nodded as Genma nodded in understanding. He soon raised his arm to the air and declared, "Alright, here is the first fight for the semi-finals. The winner obviously advances through to the final where he will be pit up against either Aburame Shino or Sabaka no Temari." Genma then glanced at the two one final time and he could see that the two were ready to go, and declared, "Hajime." Immediately after starting the fight between these two promising genin, Genma was intelligent enough to quickly move out of the way. Naruto released his seals and made 10 Kage Bunshin that ran at Gaara at an insane pace. The stoic redhead, however, remained standing in the same position as he was not even flinching from the fast blondes. The clones grew closer to Gaara and he scoffed and gathered sand from his gourd and swiped the squad of clones away, all dispelling, leaving a plume of smoke. Naruto assessed the situation. He was intrigued. He was beginning to make notes in his mind. It looks like he uses sand for all his ninjutsu and he doesn't let anyone come close. So he's not a taijutsu or close-range fighter, plus with that crazy Biju and that failure of seal, he will not be able to use genjutsu. So it means that he has insane reserves, probably low to mid-jonin, and that he can access his Biju's chakra. I just have to make him run out of chakra, then I can put that Biju no Yokusei Fuin, tailed beast suppression seal, that sensei gave to me on him to restrain him, he thought to himself. Before Naruto put his plan into place though, he continued to attack Gaara with a flurry of shadow clones and shuriken, all of which his opponent easily managed to defend against. Kage's booth. Up in the booth, the Kazekage watched the battle in intrigue. There was yet to be any major moves on either side. The civilians, they were waiting for Naruto to show his cool jutsus again, but to a ninja's eyes it was clear that Naruto was playing it smart and safe by first testing the capabilities of his opponent. He would be foolish to rush in headstrong without really knowing Gaara's powers. "I will have to see. If this brat defeats Gaara, then I will have to kill him or recruit him. Maybe I can use the identity of his parents to do that. The attack may as well be delayed for a few hours," thought Orochimaru. Arena. Gaara was getting frustrated by Naruto's lackluster attacks. He was aware that he could do much more than these petty and weak shuriken and clones. He felt the chakra in the forest of death, and he knew Naruto was just like him, but he had yet to display those powers of his. He had been waiting for this moment for the past month. He had dreamed about finally fighting against someone who could give him a challenge. At first the Uchiha intrigued him, but as soon as he felt the familiar chakra in the forest he knew that he had to change his target. Gaara was done playing these trivial games. He wanted to fight Naruto demon to demon. Naruto raised a suspicious eyebrow at Gaara. The redhead in front of him began to finally show a bit of emotion. Instead of his blank face, Gaara began to chuckle darkly. The expression and the killer intent he released even gave Naruto the chills. Looks like the Biju really did a number on his mind, thought Naruto. What are you laughing at? He asked. You know, you and I are a lot alike. We're actually the same inside, he said with a sinister grin on his face. Naruto's eyes widened in shock. He did not suspect that Gaara would know about that detail. What do you mean? He asked cautiously. The Suna ninja's chuckle grew only darker. We hold the same beast. We hold the same burden, he sold rather softly for only Naruto to hear. The crowd around them whispered among themselves. They were unsure what was going on. So far the start of the fight had been a bit of a letdown, and they couldn't necessarily hear what Naruto and Gaara were talking about. The two spoke just loud enough for each other to hear but not enough for the crowd. Naruto stared at Gaara with a blank expression. How many? He asked. The redhead chuckled and lifted a single finger. Naruto quickly took note of that and nodded. Gaara then proceeded to attack once more, this time sending a large fist made of sand towards Naruto. The young blonde quickly made the 6 seals instead of the usual 7 for this jutsu and said, Katan, Gokaku no Jutsu, fire release, great fireball technique. The sand fist collided with the fireball and slowly turned into glass and shattered. Naruto smirked and said, nice try, but 9 beats 1. Stands? The civilians were cheering again as they saw Naruto and Gaara getting serious and doing cool jutsus. The shinobi population was another thing. The ones who knew that technique were wondering how Naruto did it with less hand seals. The Konoha 12 were unable to move or react. They couldn't believe that this was the same Naruto they met a month ago. Many of the genin had similar thoughts crossing their minds. They were wondering what happened to the old Naruto, where he learned these new techniques, and how he got so strong suddenly. Some deduced that it was Jiraiya, but even with a Sannin, how could someone get so strong in a month? The Naruto in front of them was not the same old Naruto they knew just a few weeks back. This was a whole new Naruto. Sasuke was again in his how is he strong, I deserve it mode. Not only Naruto did his clan's trademark jutsu as strong as him, he was not at all winded and he did it with less hand seals. Arena. Gaara merely grinned, this gets better I see. 9 versus 1, the Kitsune versus the Tanuki, he said as a sickly smile and a bloodthirsty laugh erupted from the usually silent and stoic boy. Well then 9, you better not hold back, I came here for a fight and I expect a fight. Prepare yourself for die, yelled Gaara as he quickly gathered a large wave of sand and sent them his opponent's way. Naruto knew that he had to counter it or he was doomed. He made some hand seals and pumped chakra to his lungs and yelled Suetun, Mizurappa, water release, wild water wave. A large wave of water expelled from Naruto's mouth which soaked the sand, rendering it useless. Naruto looked a little winded and thought, damn it, I still need to work on Suetun manipulation. It takes a lot of chakra to make water from one's own chakra. Suna no Kaiwan, monstrous sand arm. A massive replica of Shikaku's sand arm sprung forth from the ground and started swiping around the arena. Naruto was left to take a defensive stance against this attack. He had barely managed to dodge them. He ran around the arena dodging these attacks, but while running away he was tactically placing explosive tags on tree stumps around the area. Eventually though he was caught by Gaara's attack and he was held into the air. But before he could squeeze his hand, Naruto escaped with yet another substitution, but this time the tree stump he substituted with had an explosive tag. The hand of sand exploded, destroying the jutsu. Gaara chuckled, sneaky little Kitsune, now quit running and fight me, he demanded. Naruto emerged from one of the few remaining trees in the arena. He jumped up from the tree and summoned 2 shadow clones. The 2 clones made hand signs along with Naruto. He landed as all 3 yelled. Katan, Ryuka no Jutsu, fire release, dragon fire technique. Futon de Tapa, wind release, great breakthrough. Raitun Jibashi, lightning release, electromagnetic murder. A stream of fire encased by lightning attacked Gaara, who made a shield around him which burned off within seconds and attacked Gaara. Quite a powerful attack you have, too bad for you my Suna no Yoroi, armor of sand, managed to neutralize it. Naruto inspected his opponent and smiled lightly after his rather confident statement. Think again, he said while pointing at his forehead. Gaara placed his hand into his forehead, and there he felt some sort of liquid. Upon further inspection he realized that his right hand was soaked in a bit of blood. His eyes widened in shock, but his smile grew more and more in size. You made me bleed, I can't believe it, twice in a month. Yet another worthy opponent, he said. Ryusa Bakuryu, quicksand waterfall flow, he yelled as he unleashed yet another giant wave of sand, but unlike last time this one was much larger in scale and size. Fuck, I only know the Teppadama and Mizurappa, I need to think of something else. Naruto made a clone which did the Mizurappa and slowed the sand down to buy him time, while he bit his thumb and did the necessary hand signs and slammed his hands on the ground and yelled Chichios no Jutsu. Gamma appeared in the arena and greeted Naruto. What do you require of me? Naruto replied, Gamma-san, please spew oil on that sand and my opponent to slow him down and prepare him for my next jutsu. Gamma nodded and did the same and dispelled. Naruto again made hand signs and yelled Katan, Ryuka no Jutsu. Everyone watched as the massive sand tsunami and Gaara were engulfed by fire, heating the arena considerably. As the fire died down, a voice belonging to Gaara said, "This is really getting interesting now, ha ha ha." Naruto's eyes widened in shock. The tone in which Gaara said that was much deeper than it should have been. He watched as soon as his opponent emerged from the area of attack, but he wasn't the same Gaara as before. Instead, in front of him was a downsized form of Shikaku. The crowd gasped at the demonic form in front of the stage. They didn't know what it was, but they were frightened by the powerful killer intent being released by the demonic figure. Kage's booth. The Kazekage scowled upon seeing Gaara's demonic form. He had hoped to watch their battle a little further, but with Gaara getting pushed to the limits, he had no other choice but to commence his attack prematurely. The Kazekage slyly grabbed a smoke bomb in his pocket and unleashed it into the ground. The audience's attention quickly turned to the Kage's booth, and as soon as the smoke receded, they saw the Kazekage holding their beloved Hokage with a kunai to his throat. The crowd roared in anger upon the sight. Immediately after this, the Kazekage jumped up with the Hokage in his arms. Jiraiya, of course, followed suit to protect his sensei. The Kazekage landed onto the roof of the arena, and once there, the Hokage noticed 4 of his minions on the corners of the roof about to complete a jutsu. Unlucky for them, though, Jiraiya arrived at the scene just in time before a powerful barrier jutsu was placed between Jiraiya and the 2 Kages. Stands. The civilians were all panicking at the sudden attack. Immediately after the smoke erupting from the Kage's booth, there was a flurry of explosions going off in different areas of Konoha. The civilians all tried to run away from the arena in hopes of finding safety, but unfortunately for them, there was someone in the crowd who unleashed a rather potent sleeping genjutsu. Many of the civilians fell onto the ground with an unforgiving thud as they fell to a deep slumber. The ninjas, though, managed to repel this attack, and so they remained standing. But then all the Suna and Oto ninjas in the area began to attack the Konoha shinobi. More and more reinforcements for Suna and Oto arrived at the scene. The Jonin and Anbu in the premises quickly acted and fought off the invading forces. The Konoha 12, however, remained in one corner, unsure of what to do. None of them had ever experienced something like this before. Then out of nowhere, 5 Oto ninjas appeared out of nowhere about to strike the genin. Normally genin such as Neji and Sasuke would be able to fight these guys off, but unfortunately for them, they were still recovering from their fight just a while ago. But before the Oto ninjas could strike the genin, a certain masked Jonin arrived just in time to strike down the enemies. Sakura and Sasuke looked down in surprise at the man's sudden arrival. "Kakashi-sensei," they yelled. With Naruto. The young blonde was utterly confused as to what was happening. One second he was fighting Gaara head to head, and now Konoha seemed to be at war with both Oto and Suna. He turned his head back to Gaara only to find that the crazed young man was running off from the arena, even though his logic told him to follow him and try to restrain him. But in the end, he couldn't just leave Konoha in the midst of such an attack. He decided to go help the rest of Konoha protect against the incoming forces, and as soon as things cleared up, he would go on and try to catch up on Gaara. With Naruto being one to follow his gut instinct, he ran towards the main source of carnage within Konoha. But before running towards that direction, he had an idea. He again summoned a giant teal-colored toad with twin katanas on his back. He looked at him and said, "Gamahiro-san, I think it's probably best if you stay here and help the Konoha ninjas fight off these invading forces," he said. Gamahiro nodded and jumped off from the arena into the streets of Konoha. After leaving the stadium, he quickly found many large snake summons roaming the city, wreaking havoc. Why is it always the snakes? He asked himself before jumping towards a snake nearly his size. While this was happening, Naruto ran towards Gaara, even though he knew that his chances were slim. With Kakashi. The masked Jonin watched as his blonde student ran after the Ichibi's Jinchuriki. After having dispatched the men who tried to attack the genin, he quickly handed them orders. "Alright kids, I know none of you are really prepared for something like this, but you're now all genin of Konoha, and as genin you are all required to help Konoha in this time of need. As your superior officer, I'll be giving you all specific orders which you all need to follow. Are we clear?" he explained in a stern and serious tone. The Jonin looked at both his students first. "Sasuke, Sakura, I need you two to go and follow that Gaara kid along with Naruto, and I want you two to bring Shikamaru and Shino with you," he ordered. The 4 nodded and quickly ran off to catch up with the 2 Jinchurikis. He then turned to Team Guy. "As for you 3, I need you to help evacuate the people in this stadium. It's dangerous right now for them to lie here half asleep from that damn jutsu. Don't worry though, I'll get some Anbu to watch over you guys just in case," he said. Then finally he looked at Ino, Choji, Kiba and Hinata. "I want you guys to do the same thing Team Guy is doing, but head over to the opposite side of the stadium. I'll make sure to have Anbu guard you guys just in case," ordered Kakashi. With Hiruzen and Jiraiya. "Kakuka, looks like we're here for a wee reunion. All we're missing is Tsunade," the Kazekage whispered in Hiruzen's ear. "What are you talking about?" the Hokage yelled in anger. Jiraiya watched, unsure of what to do in the current situation. He could only watch as the Kazekage suddenly used his free hand to rip the skin off his face. The Sannin was at first disgusted at the sight, but soon his eyes widened in shock upon seeing the true face of the Kazekage. Orochi team, he yelled in anger. Hiruzen scowled upon seeing Orochimaru's face off the corner of his eye. He knew there was something oddly familiar about the Kazekage, and here it was his wayward student all along. Kakuku, it's good to see you two once more, it's been far too long. While Orochimaru was speaking, Hiruzen slyly elbowed the snake Sannin in the gut. While he was in the midst of speaking, Orochimaru winced and his hold on the Hokage loosened, giving him a chance to escape and jump back to join Jiraiya. Orochimaru began to chuckle. It looks like you still have a wee bit of skill in those bones, old man. I may not be as strong as I used to be, Orochimaru, but I am still powerful enough to defeat you, Hiruzen replied confidently. Hey, now you two, don't forget I'm here too. You'd be an idiot to fight us both, Orochimaru. Just give up now, the perverted Sannin exclaimed. Orochimaru then began to chuckle menacingly. He did some hand signs and clapped his hands together, and soon 3 coffins began to rise from the ground. Each coffin had a number placed on the top. There were 3 numbers all in all. They had numbers 1, 2 and 4 in their kanji forms. Hiruzen's eyes widened in disbelief and his blood ran cold as he gazed upon the forbidden jutsu his sensei created. He couldn't believe that his student knew how to perform it. Jiraiya, we need to stop him, Hiruzen yelled as he threw some shurikens and weaved through hand seals. Shuriken Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Shuriken Shadow Clone Technique, he yelled. Soon Jiraiya caught on as to what was happening, and he followed suit with his sensei. Unfortunately, they had enough to stop the last coffin from rising from the ground, but it wasn't enough to stop the first 2 coffins from rising from the ground. Orochimaru's sinister laugh echoed across the rooftop as soon as the coffin opened. Kuchios, Edo Tensei, summoning, impure world reincarnation, Orochimaru whispered. Hiruzen was enraged and Jiraiya was lost for words. In front of them were the deceased bodies of the legendary Senju brothers Hashirama and Tobirama. The lifeless bodies' eyes opened immediately, and the figures walked out of the coffin to face the 2 of them. They looked around and Hashirama said, Look, Tobirama, I told you to not make this jutsu, but no, let's not listen to Aniki, elder brother, you said. Shut up, I didn't know that someone would use it against Konoha and most of all, summon us against Konoha, replied Tobirama. He looked around as his eyes landed on Hiruzen and said, Saru, is that you? Hashirama also looked at Hiruzen as he replied, Yes, sensei, it is me. It has been a long time, to be honest. Hashirama jokingly said, That I can see. It seems like we are under attack. Yes, sensei, it pains me to fight you, but I will have to do it as the Hokage of Konoha. Still the Hokage, but the rock has 4 faces, what happened to the Yondaime? Asked a curious Tobirama. To this Jiraiya replied, Nidaime-sama, 12 years ago, the Kyuubi attacked Konoha. He used an Uzumaki Kenjutsu and sealed the Kyuubi at the coat of his own life. He even took your Hiraishin to another level and won us the 3rd Great Ninja War single-handedly. Too bad the brat died at 24. He was a genius in his own right. I myself have to say that his achievements are beyond his age. That aside, Saru, why am I not sensing any Senju chakra signatures? Not only that, but there seemed to be only 1 Uzumaki and Uchiha chakra signature. What happened to the Senju, Uzumaki and Uchiha? Asked Tobirama. Listening to this, Hashirama's face grew serious. The 3 great clans no more. Has that much time passed already? Hiruzen sighed and said, The Senjus died in the 1st and 2nd wars. Only your grandniece Tsunade is alive from the Senjus. The Uchiha were massacred by one of their own and the Uzumakis were attacked nose slaughtered by the combined forces of Kumo and Iwa, which led to the start of the 2nd war. Hashirama groaned and said, No matter whichever the era, war is always there. I think that we have talked enough. Time for you to attack them and kill them, said Orochimaru, who inserted a kunai with a seal in each of their heads and controlled them. Jiraiya said, Sensei, give me 10 to 20 minutes, I can make a counter-seal to Orochimaru's own. Hiruzen nodded and went to fight his senseis while Jiraiya started to make a counter-seal to Orochimaru's seal. With Sasuke. The group as a whole followed the trail of destruction that Gaara left, but as soon as they grew closer to Gaara's location there seemed to be a roadblock in the way. Stop right there. The group looked over to the source of the voice and there they saw Temari and Kankuro standing there prepared to fight the group. Shikamaru sighed upon the sight. Troublesome, he muttered to himself. Sasuke, Sakura, you 2 go ahead, me and Shino will handle these guys, said Shikamaru confidently. Are you sure, Shikamaru? Sakura asked. The lazy Nara nodded. Go you 2, we can handle this, Sakura thanked him, and the 2 members of Team 7 were off in search of Gaara. TCH, how noble of you, little boy, but this time I'm winning against you, yelled Temari. Shino on the other hand were staring out at Kankuro. I presume Shikamaru wants to his fight a solo one, he silently told himself. Kankuro smirked as he stared at Shino. I wasn't able to show off my true ability a while ago, but prepare yourself now, bug boy, it's time for me to unveil my true powers, he yelled. With Sasuke and Sakura. The 2 arrived to find Gaara practically covered in his armor of sand, and just as they arrived Gaara began to emit an evil laugh. Finally, I was expecting to see Naruto, but oh well, I guess the last Uchiha will suffice for now. Quite the treat for mother. Sasuke stared out the Jinchuriki with no fear whatsoever, but Sakura on the other hand was easily affected by the killer intent radiating from the red-haired Tsunade. She was forced to take a step back out of fear. Sasuke stood his ground, but he was a bit too excited to fight the young Jinchuriki. From what he's seen, Gaara was quite a powerful opponent, and he was excited to test his skills against this kid but with no restrictions or rules whatsoever. Sasuke confidently jumped in to quickly fight Gaara. Katon, Gokaku no Jutsu, he yelled as a fireball flew towards Gaara. Gaara immediately followed suit with Suna no Tate, Shield of Sand, to protect himself from the incoming fire attack. Sasuke-kun, what are you doing? Sakura yelled in shock. Don't interfere, Sakura, I want to fight him myself. I can handle him, Sasuke yelled. You idiot, we'd be better if we worked together. Don't, Sakura, I want to do this myself and you can't even contribute much to this. I know I can do this myself. Do not interfere, he hissed in anger. Sakura was hurt by that statement, but she knew it was somewhat true. She had to stay back. Even she had to admit she would only be a burden to him right now. Is that all you got, Uchiha? Sabaku, Hando, Desert, Hand, Gaara yelled as massive hands of sand began to surround Sasuke in hopes of crushing the young Uchiha. Sasuke scowled before releasing Katon, Ryuka no Jutsu, to turn the incoming hands of sand into glass with the sheer heat of his flames. Sasuke smirked before kicking the glass hands apart. Suna no Kaiwan. Another massive hand of sand emerged trying to capture Sasuke, but the Uchiha opened his Sharingan, and he managed to dodge and anticipate the movement of the gigantic hands. Then Gaara decided to take his attacks up a notch. While in his miniature Shikaku form, he began to release Suna Shuriken, Sand Shuriken, towards Sasuke. Katon, Gokaku no Jutsu, Sasuke used as a counter. Gaara immediately followed suit with Rin and Suna Shigure, successive shots Sand Drizzle, but this time Sasuke didn't have time to dodge the attacks. He was hit by a flurry of sand projectiles. He was still recovering from his fight with Gaara, so the sand projectiles that hit him managed to only further his injuries. Sasuke grimaced in pain, and he clutched his bloody torso. Gaara was running out of patience. He wanted to deal with Sasuke to finally reach Naruto. While Sasuke was injured by those shots, Gaara decided to toy with his opponent for a little bit. Let me reintroduce you to Pain, Uchiha, he said menacingly. With Naruto. The young blonde was stopped by some Odo shinobi, but Asuma arrived as he left to search for Gaara. While in search of Gaara, he stopped by a certain forest clearing, and there he found a panting Shikamaru and Shino standing there looking after the unconscious bodies of Temari and Kankuro. What the hell happened here? Naruto asked in shock. Shikamaru turned back to see Naruto. We just dealt with these two and Shino and I are done for now. Naruto, your two teammates ran up ahead in search of Gaara. Go quickly. I don't know what's happened thus far, but Gaara is a powerful opponent even for Sasuke, he said. Naruto's eyes widened in shock. What direction did they go? He asked. Shikamaru pointed north. I wish I could come along, Naruto, but me and Shino barely have any energy or chakra left, and someone needs to look after these two, he said while pointing at Kankuro and Temari. Naruto nodded in understanding. Don't worry, you two, you've both done enough. Let me handle Gaara. But as soon as Naruto said that, he heard a massive roar appear from a few kilometers north. A gargantuan entity of sand rose from the ground in the shape of a tanuki. Shikamaru and Shino looked on in fear of the being. What the fuck is that? Shikamaru yelled in fear. Naruto's heart nearly stopped. If Sasuke and Sakura were fighting him, then they were in definite danger now that he's released his bijou. Damn it, I need to go now, Shikamaru, he yelled as he ran as fast as he could towards the bijou. With Sakura. The young pinkette screamed for dear life. Sasuke was bloodied, bruised, and plain beaten, and now that Gaara kid turned into this massive monster. She didn't know what to do. She knew she couldn't handle this sort of fight, and her only protection was now down and out. Gaara in his Shikaku form turned towards the bloodied and unconscious Sasuke. He used his gigantic hand to grab the boy. He could have easily killed him and crushed him there, but he chose to place him in a nearby tree where he had a massive cluster of sand surrounding him. Then he turned his attention to the young pinkette in the vicinity. Don't think I forgot about you now. I'm saving the Uchiha for later, but for now I guess I may as well just kill you, he said while chuckling. Gaara raised his massive hand of sand and was about to swipe away at the tree Sakura stood on. The pinkette watched as her life was about to be taken away from her. Tears fell from her face. At this point of time, she just accepted her inevitable death. It was coming and there was nothing she could do about it. But just before the hand swept at her, she closed her eyes instinctively. Death seemed inevitable at this point, but just a few milliseconds before the gigantic hand of sand managed to decimate the area she stood on. He was running a wee bit late. He arrived only to see Gaara on the verge of killing Sakura. He pumped as much chakra to his legs and he ran as fast as he could. Luckily, he managed to reach Sakura just in the nick of time, carrying her away from the danger, and jumping off to the top of a nearby tree. Naruto carried the unsuspecting Sakura in a bridal style. He glanced back from the corner of his eye to stare at Gaara. Naruto was beyond angry. Had he been a little bit later, he was certain the girl he loved would have died. Sakura opened her teary eyes in shock to find Naruto carrying her. A small blush adorned her cheeks, but overall, she was just happy to see Naruto. Recently she had been a bit scared of Naruto with the events transpiring in the Forest of Death. She was still frightened by Naruto, but seeing him made her feel a sense of relief, seeing as how he did just save her life. Naruto turned back to face Sakura. He gave her a soft smile to try and calm her down. "Sorry I was late, are you alright, Sakura-chan?" he asked. Sakura nodded shakily. "Yeah, I think I'm alright, arigato Naruto," she replied. Naruto nodded before allowing her to stand again. "Where's Sasuke?" he asked fearfully. Sakura bit her bottom lip before pointing at the cluster of sand stuck into the side of a tree. Naruto saw this and nodded. "I see," he replied. Gaara chuckled. "Well, I'm glad you finally made it. I left your friend Uchiha on the wall over there as a precaution. If you want him to be set free, you'll first have to defeat me, but you only have an hour to do so. If we pass an hour, then I will crush him with my sands," he yelled. "You're a sick bastard, I'll make you pay for this. I will not let you get away with this." Naruto then turned back to the pinkette. "Sakura-chan, I suggest you step back for now and watch from afar. Let me deal with him myself," he said confidently. Sakura nodded before jumping back away from the fight, but before heading back she turned back to Naruto. "I'm sorry if I've been avoiding you, Naruto, but thank you so much," she said. Naruto's eyes widened in shock while his cheeks reddened considerably. "Don't worry about it, Sakura-chan, I will always be here when you need me," he replied. The young blonde then turned back to Gaara with a serious expression. It looked rather heroic. Naruto stared out at his opponent, his trenchcoat flapping in the wind. Naruto was like the spitting image of his own father when he saved Kushina from the Kyuubi. History had a way of repeating itself sometimes. "Prepare yourself, Gaara. As the future Hokage of Konoha, I will not let you harm Konoha further. I will stop you right here, right now." Naruto, despite saying that, was tired and felt that he did not have enough chakra to summon Gamabunta. He never carried soldier pills with him. He did not know how to do anything now. Suddenly, he started to collapse. The strain of fighting Neji and Gaara caught up with him. He got ready for the impact, but it never came. Mindscape. Naruto found himself in a dimly lit sewer. He found a force calling him. He decided to go towards that. He soon found himself in front of a massive cage with a kanji for seal in the middle. He looked confused and was about to turn and go away when a growl reached his ears. He looked at the cage again and saw a massive nine-tailed fox, or the Kyuubi no Yoko, in its full glory. The fox said to create massive tsunamis and destroy mountains with just a swipe of its tail. "So we finally meet you, pathetic Ningen, human," growled the fox. Naruto just stood there, slightly affected by Kyuubi's presence, and yelled, "Yes, you damn kitsune, what do you want?" Kyuubi growled and released a bit of its killing intent, and the effect was instantaneous. Naruto was on his knees, finding it a little hard to breathe. Sheesh, the Kyuubi really was no joke. He then suddenly had an idea. He stood up and yelled, "You damn fox, give me some of your chakra, I need it to win my fight with Gaara." Kyuubi laughed and replied, "Why should I even consider this, you brat?" Naruto thought to convince Kyuubi, but suddenly had an idea and smirked, the smirk that he had while pranking or taking revenge. It sent a shiver down even Kyuubi's spine, but he ignored it. Naruto then said, "Oh well, and here I thought that the world will see how the Kyuubi Jinchuriki is stronger than the Ichibi one, but it seems like that people will think that the Ichibi defeated the mighty Kyuubi." Kyuubi growled, the brat got him good, just like his father, and that damned Uchiha. He had no option but to comply with him, or risk being compared to that damned Tanuki Shikaku. He said, "I will comply this time because I don't want to be compared to that damned Tanuki. But remember, I will someday get out of here and devour you and any Uchiha out there." Naruto ignored the threat but thought about the Uchiha part. Something must have happened to make Kyuubi hate the Uchihas. Orange-red chakra suddenly seeped through the seal and made its way towards Naruto, who was thrown out of his mind by the Kyuubi. Real world. Just as Naruto was about to hit his face onto the branch, he suddenly stopped using his hands and stood up. Soon red chakra became visible around him and started to swirl. Gaara, upon seeing this, got more excited and grinned maniacally. Naruto felt his reserves filling back up and Kyuubi's chakra flowing through his coils. He bit his thumb, did the hand signs, and yelled, "Kuchios no Jutsu." Gamabunta looked at his surroundings, wondering what exactly was happening. "What's going on here, Naruto? Why'd you summon me now?" Gamabunta roared in annoyance. Before Naruto could reply, Gaara screamed a mighty roar, grabbing Gamabunta's attention. Gamabunta's eyes widened in shock at the sight of Gaara in his Ichibi form. "Forget what I just said, brat. It's been a while since I had a good fight," the Toad Chief claimed with a cocky grin. Naruto nodded before bracing himself while on the top of Gamabunta's gigantic head. He crossed his arms as he stared down his opponent. "Looks like things finally got serious," said Gaara. "In that case, I have no other choice. Tanuki Nairi no Jutsu, feigning sleep technique." Naruto and Gamabunta watched curiously as the strange boy began to sleep in broad daylight. The two were surprised by this choice. But then a dark and sinister laugh emerged from the figure in front of them. It was a laugh much different from Gaara's. It was much deeper and far more menacing. "I'm free," yelled the tanuki figure. "That brat finally let me free. All of you prepare to die, nothing will stop me now." Naruto's eyes widened upon realization of what had just happened. Gaara had allowed the Ichibi full control to defeat him. Gamabunta realized the same thing and glanced at his summoner. "Are you ready, brat? This is going to be a tough fight," exclaimed Gamabunta. Naruto stood up confident as he stared down the Ichibi. He may have been young, but he was not fearful of the danger that laid in front of him. He couldn't afford to fear him. He was tasked with protecting his friends and his home, and he would stop at nothing to make sure that the tanuki would not reach Konoha. It was a Hokage's duty to protect Konoha from any danger, and as the son of a former Hokage and as a boy who dreams of one day also becoming Hokage, he relished this moment. This was the time for him to prove himself. This was the time for him to show the world his true power. "Ichibi, you will not win this fight today. I will stop you right here, right now. I will protect Konoha," Naruto yelled with a fierce determination. Gamabunta could only smile as this feeling and this situation right here felt oh so familiar. It was 13 years ago, when Gamabunta helped Minato fight off the Kyuubi to protect Konoha, and now here he was helping Naruto, Minato's own son, protect Konoha from a similar threat, the Ichibi. Like father like son, the Toad Chieftain fondly thought to himself, "It was an honor serving Minato, and I expect remarkable things from you as well, Naruto." Gamabunta then charged at the Ichibi and slashed him with his giant sword. The Ichibi countered this by grabbing the sword with his hand. With his free hand, he attempted to punch the toad, only for Naruto to throw a kunai with an explosive tag to destroy the arm momentarily until the sand that was blown off returned to the creature. The two large beings then clashed with their remaining arms, and they wrestled in a battle of strength. While in this close standoffish situation, Gamabunta decided to use a sneaky attack to render his opponent momentarily. While both hands were busy fending off their opponent's own, the toad managed to knead a large bullet of water and send it crashing into the Ichibi's torso. "Suetun, Teppadama?" The Ichibi was sent back and he had to nurse his damaged stomach. While in this state, Gamabunta jumped up into the sky preparing to attack the creature with his weapon. Gamadosuzan, Toad Sword Beheading. The toad managed to cut the creature in half, separating the lower body from the upper body with the waist as the divider, as both halves unceremoniously fell to the ground. Gamabunta sheathed his weapon before smiling confidently. It appeared the battle was over. Naruto sighed in relief, but just before he was about to congratulate his toad companion, the menacing chuckle returned. The two turned to see the Ichibi's two halves reforming together, and the two were left shocked and slightly discouraged. "It's going to take more than that to defeat me," taunted the Bijou. Both Naruto and Gamabunta clenched their jaws. "Damn, how are we meant to defeat this guy?" Then Naruto yelled in frustration before the toad once again unsheathed his sword, preparing for round 2 with the mythical Bijou. Suddenly a voice came from his head. "You have to wake up his container." Naruto looked around and thought, "Kyuubi?" He heard a growl as the Kyuubi spoke again. "Who else, brat? As I was saying, if you wake up the container, Shikaka's form will recede and you can't cause him any damage as he is a sand spirit. He will reform as soon as you do anything to him." Naruto relayed this information to Gamabunta, and they began to form a plan to wake up Gaara. With Hiruzen, the Hokage was breathing raggedly as he fought not only Orochimaru but his senseis. Lucky for him, he had Jiraiya on his side. The perverted Sannin gave him 2 tags with the counterseals and kept 2 for himself. "Jiraiya, I need you to keep them occupied for a while. We can end this," Hiruzen said in an authoritative tone. Jiraiya could only nod as he jumped up to attack his old teammate and the Hokages. The battle raged on with Jiraiya doing his best to hold them down. Of course it was easier said than done, seeing how those 3 were Kage-level ninjas. Hiruzen watched on as he prepared his jutsu. He wanted to help Jiraiya, but he needed to end this now. He knew of the effects of the Kuchiyos, Edo Tensei. It wasn't Orochimaru they were truly worried about, it was an immortal Shodame and Naidame. They could attack them all they wanted, but they just regenerate instantly. Thankfully his sensei Senju Tobirama, the creator of said jutsu, also made a failsafe in case this would be used against Konoha. It was a delicate and difficult seal to make, that's why it took Jiraiya time to make it. The seal was complex to make and his sensei Tobirama based it on the Kyaku Fuin, contract seal, used on summoned creatures. The seal's purpose was to remove any direct control the summoner has on any summoned creatures, and with the zombies from the Edo Tensei technically being summoned creatures, Tobirama used the idea of the Kyaku Fuin to create a countermeasure for his own jutsu, the Kuchiyos, Edo Tensei. Once the powerful seal tag was finally formed, Hiruzen yelled at his wayward student, "You've disappointed me, Orochimaru, and for that you will have to pay. Jiraiya, take care of Orochimaru, leave both to me for now," he ordered. "I'm sorry for this, Sensei," Hiruzen said apologetically. They could only sigh in return. "It is we who must apologize," Hiruzen replied Tobirama before jumping to attack the Sandaime Hokage. Hiruzen ducked and kicked him away a few meters. Kuchios no Jutsu. Enma rose from the smoke and stared down the two enemies. He gasped at the sight of the Senju brothers, but he could bare his fangs at the sight of the snake Orochimaru. Enma, I need your help. Please hold them down, ordered Hiruzen. The ape nodded before jumping towards them and engaging them in a taijutsu fight. Hiruzen jumped in as well to help overpower his senseis, and of course it worked. Enma managed to land a solid punch at Tobirama before grabbing him and holding him down. Hiruzen saw this, and he saw him trying to teleport somewhere else, but just before he could, the Sandaime Hokage used Shunshin, body flicker technique, to appear just in front of him and place the tag on his chest. Tobirama's eyes widened in shock as he felt his soul leaving his body. He smiled over at Hiruzen, finally at peace, and sighed in relief. You have done a great job, Hiruzen. I will give your regards to your successor in the Shinigami's stomach, he said before his revived body disappeared and his soul went to the realm of the Shinigami. How was he going to the Shinigami's belly? Well, it was another Uzumaki Fuinjutsu marvel which Jiraiya had thanks to Kushina. The seal send the soul of an Edo Tensei body to the Shinigami's belly. Its only drawback is that it requires a seal master of level 10 minimum to make the seal. Even then, it took time to make the seal. Hiruzen and Enma then walked over to corner Orochimaru with Jiraiya, who had released Hashirama. The snake Sannin cursed his luck now that the Hokages were gone. He was severely overpowered by his opponents. He chuckled, however, in the face of these three. Kakuku, it appears I misjudged this fight. I was certain I'd come out victorious, but it goes otherwise. Unfortunately, as much as I love this reunion, I must leave, he said before releasing the barrier holding them down. But before he tried to leave, the trio of Enma, Hiruzen and Jiraiya all tried to attack the spot Orochimaru stood on. Their attacks did not connect, but Jiraiya managed to insert a poison made by Tsunade into his system to make his arms useless. He simply vanished but was screaming from the pain of the poison activating. The three cursed their luck. They finally had their chance to dispose of one of Konoha's biggest threats right then and there, but it was no use. Of course, Orochimaru had an escape plan. He was probably in Ryuchi Cave with the snakes. Hiruzen sighed before glancing at the destruction being brought up onto the village. Jiraiya, Enma, we need to protect Konoha from Suna and Oto. Now that Orochimaru is gone, we must not dwell on him any further. We must focus on the other threats before us, he said before hearing a massive roar and thud on the outskirts of the village. Hiruzen and Jiraiya all examined the direction from which the sound came from, and they all gasped in shock as they found a legendary fight in the distance. From what they could see, Gamabunta was there, and the other was a massive tanuki made of sand. The three realized what was going on, and Hiruzen clenched his fist in anger. Is this what you wanted, Orochimaru? He asked no one in particular. Jiraiya, head over there, I'll handle the Suna and Oto troops with Enma. Jiraiya nodded before jumping off into the distance. He knew exactly who was fighting in that battle. There was only one other person who could summon toads other than him, and it was his own student. With Naruto. Naruto and Gamabunta were left bruised and severely exhausted from their battle with the Ichibi. They didn't expect this to be an easy fight, but it was much more difficult than they thought. During their fight, they managed to push back the Bijou as far away from Konoha as they could. In that distance, it allowed Sakura to help free Sasuke while the two were outside the reach of the battle. But from the battle, despite how much they damaged and attacked the body of the Ichibi, it just continued to reform and heal, seeing how it was purely made of chakra and sand. Upon seeing his struggling enemies, the Ichibi took advantage of his opponent's tired states. Sabaku Soteso Fuin, Desert Layered Imperial Funeral Seal. Gamabunta luckily jumped away from the seal. Gamabunta, I need you to fight the Tanuki and get me as close as you can to Gaara's body on the forehead of the Ichibi. We know how to defeat them, he said as Gamabunta nodded in understanding. Leave it to me, kid, he said as he lunged over to the Tanuki to fight him up close. As the distance between them was lowered significantly, Naruto quickly jumped up into the Tanuki's head. The Ichibi tried to counter this, but he needed both his arms to protect himself from Gamabunta's incoming attacks, and so he couldn't swat Naruto away. Naruto then leaned closer, but then a smaller replica of Bijou's hand emerged from his stomach, catching the blonde boy. The Suna no Kaiwan managed to reach Naruto just in time, and the blonde cursed his luck. But just before the hand threw him away as far as it could, Naruto summoned a few of his shadow clones. The clones then carried and threw Naruto as close as they could to Gaara with their Bunshin Taiyatari, clone body blow. Naruto managed to land a solid punch on Gaara, thus waking him up from his slumber. Unfortunately for Naruto, he was thrown over to some trees, breaking them from the sheer force of impact. He coughed out blood and he winced at the pain of some of his broken bones. He knew immediately that he must have broken an arm and a few ribs, and he must have at least fractured a leg among other things. No, fuck no, it can't be over so soon, yelled the Tanuki as Gaara began to take over for the Bijou. The auburn-haired Jinchuriki woke up from his slumber in annoyance. He expected the battle to be over already, but at the sight of Gamabunta in front of him, he had no choice but to carry on where he last left off and where his Bijou last left off. Damn it, why can't you all die already? Gaara yelled in anger as he began to summon his strength, overpowering Gamabunta. The Toad Chief was injured severely by now, and he was on his last leg, losing the small battle of strength against Gaara in the Ichibi form. Naruto from afar saw this, and he gingerly stood up from his position. He was down to the last few bits of his chakra and it was now or never. This would be the final attack he would do. He was glad he managed to land a punch to Gaara because with the Ichibi out of the way, it left a confused Gaara very open to an attack. He then breathed deeply before channeling his chakra into his legs, jumping high into the sky. Gamabunta saw Naruto jump up from the ground. He grabbed his sword and held it high enough for Naruto to use it as another platform for yet another chakra-enhanced jump. Naruto now inching closer and closer to the auburn-haired Jinchuriki. He punched Gaara with a great force on his head, and it seemed to do the trick. Gaara then roared in utter pain, and the sand surrounding him began to vanish quickly, and the two fell to the ground unceremoniously with a loud thud, further increasing their injuries. The two began to cough out blood and they winced in utter pain. "I lost," Gaara muttered to himself in disbelief before turning his head over to Naruto. "I lost, now kill me. End my pain and misery, kill me," he pleaded to Naruto. Naruto turned to him in surprise and sympathy. Had things been differently, this would have been him, but he was lucky that he had a few friends that strayed him from that dark road. He looked on at Gaara sadly. He knew how difficult it was to be lonely, to be looked upon as a monster, being treated like a demon even when he was just the container. "I know that feeling. As a fellow Jinchuriki, trust me when I say that there have been times where I too just wanted to die. But I will not kill you." "Why won't you kill me? I am begging you to end my suffering. Aren't you mad at me? I almost killed your two teammates. If given the chance, I would destroy your village and kill you in the process." Naruto chuckled softly. "I won't, because I can sympathize with you. If things had gone differently between us, I could be in the same situation as you, with you being in the same situation as I am right now. I understand your struggle, and even with what's happening, I forgive you. You're a product of the hatred in the world, and I want to help free you from this burden. From this day forth, Gaara, we'll be friends," he said with an idealistic gleam in his eyes. "Friends?" muttered the Ichibi Jinchuriki. This was such a foreign term to him. Naruto nodded as he continued to stare up into the sky. "Yes, we're friends now, and the next time we fight it shall be as Kages," he said proudly. Gaara turned to him in disbelief. "Are you a fool? Me as Kazekage, you're spouting nonsense," he seethed. "Could be nonsense, but then again, nothing is impossible. Maybe you can prove yourself to the village and rise up from the title they give us as Jinchuriki and protect the village as a Kage instead." Gaara turned to Naruto as he studied the grinning blonde. "You're a strange one, Uzumaki Naruto," he claimed softly. Naruto chuckled before turning to face Gaara. "You may be a crazy, lunatic bastard, but I guess you may not be too bad a friend," he said. Gaara then, for the first time in a long time, showed an expression. The corners of his mouth twitched into a small smile. "Friends, what an odd feeling," he muttered before sleep soon caught up to the two. Soon Kankuro and Temari arrived hobbling. They gathered their brother and left for Konoha, leaving Naruto to lay on the ground. But luckily for him, Sakura soon arrived with Sasuke in tow, and Jiraiya managed to arrive not much longer. Gamabunta explained the situation and what happened to them, and both Sakura and Jiraiya couldn't believe what had just happened. Jiraiya carried Naruto, and he summoned a toad to help carry Sasuke. Jiraiya glanced at his student with pride. To defeat the Ichibi in such a way, maybe, just maybe, Naruto really can surpass his father. If anyone could, he would be able to. Sakura also turned to look at the unconscious Naruto being carried on the Sanin's back. The boy continued to surprise her, and this was the biggest surprise of all. She must have truly misjudged Naruto. Things had been iffy with them as of late, but then again, when it mattered, he was there to protect her from anything, and only then did she come to fully realize the recklessness of Naruto's chivalry. He had just fought a Bijou not only to protect Konoha but to protect her. He truly went the extra mile to make sure she was safe. Hell, he fought Orochimaru as well just to protect her. Maybe Naruto wasn't as bad as she thought. Maybe he really might just be the Hokage one day. One thing was for sure, he really turned Sakura into a believer today. Chapter 4: Chunin and Retrievals. The young blonde hero lay bored and restless on the hospital bed. Despite his increased regenerative healing, he remained bedridden from his battle with Gaara. That battle took a lot out of Naruto, and it clearly showed. The genin wanted nothing more than to leave the hospital and resume with his daily life, but unfortunately for him, the injuries he sustained wouldn't allow him. His recovery had been quicker than most, due to obvious reasons. But to be on the safe side, the hospital kept him in for the meantime to make sure he was fully healed. But all that did nothing to alleviate the young blonde's boredom of the situation. "Do you feel a bit better now, Naruto?" asked Sakura. For the past few days, the lone kunoichi of Team 7 had been constantly visiting the hospital to watch over her two teammates. Naruto's state was bad at the beginning, but he was making huge leaps. Sasuke, on the other hand, did not hold the same regenerative powers as Naruto, and as a result he was in a much more severe state than his blonde teammate. Physical damage aside, his pride was also bruised and damaged. He was in no state to defeat Itachi when Gaara had practically defeated him almost effortlessly. "Yeah, it's annoying that I have to stay here, but the nurse said I should be discharged tomorrow, so I have that to look forward to." "How's Sasuke feeling, Sakura-chan?" replied Naruto. Sakura sighed in frustration. She was trying her best to make sure Sasuke was alright, but the raven-haired boy didn't make it easy. He had been quieter and more stoic than usual since his loss, and even though he was finally conscious, he typically remained in his own world most of the time. He's doing well, but you know how he can be sometimes. He's really taking his loss to Gaara to heart. He hasn't said a single word since he woke up. I don't think he's even listening at all when I speak to him, she replied, her voice filled with worry. Naruto sighed in response and said, typical team. He can be a major pain in the ass when he's in one of his moods. Sakura chuckled lightly at the light jab. Once the small laughter died down, the two were engulfed in an awkward silence. Things were still somewhat tense between the two. Sakura was facing a fork in the road. On one hand, she still somewhat feared Naruto because of his evil and mysterious transformations. She tried her best to ignore it, but the dark chakra that emanated from Naruto that day still left an indelible mark on the young kunoichi. This enigmatic side of Naruto left a large array of questions she had for her teammate's condition. Questions she was too scared to ask. But despite that side of Naruto, she knew that the blonde-haired genin would never do anything to purposefully hurt her or their friends. For Kami's sake, he had gone to her rescue countless times already. She firmly believed that had it not been for Naruto, she may already be dead so early in her kunoichi career. From the mission in Wave to the Chunin exams, every step of the way Naruto was there to protect her from any harm. Deep down, she knew, despite all her inhibitions, that Naruto was not a monster. But despite all that, she still had a lingering sense of fear. I just want to thank you again, Naruto, she said. Naruto blinked a few times, confused by his teammate's statement. What are you thanking me for, Sakura-chan? He asked in response. For saving me, of course. Not just from Gaara, but from everything. You always seem to come to my rescue whenever I need you most. No need to keep thanking me, Sakura-chan. You know I would do it in a heartbeat, he replied as a slight blush adorned his whiskered cheeks. Sakura chuckled softly as she sported her own small blush. I'm really glad to hear that, Naruto. But next time I hope it will never come to that. These past few days have left me thinking, and I've come to realize one thing, she said in a mirthless tone. Naruto raised a single eyebrow. Oh, and what would that be, Sakura-chan? He asked curiously. I'm useless, she replied immediately. Naruto sighed and said, as much as I want to encourage you, Sakura-chan, I can't, but I also can't discourage you. Sakura said, I appreciate you trying, Naruto, but I know for a fact I've been useless. So far up to this point I haven't done anything of significance. All I've done so far is hide between you and Sasuke-kun's shadows. I haven't been a kunoichi. I've been nothing more than a damsel in distress this whole time, and I don't want to be that anymore, she exclaimed. That's why I'm promising you, Naruto, that from now I won't be that Sakura anymore. I want to be a Sakura that can stand side by side with you and Sasuke-kun. I'm going to train my ass off to make that happen, she said passionately. Naruto sat there wide-eyed and stunned. A small smile and blush crept up to his face. Now this is the Sakura-chan I know and love, he thought to himself. I'm happy for you, Sakura-chan, he said genuinely. I know you'll be a great kunoichi. Sakura blushed slightly before walking over to Naruto. She placed a hand over his and she gently squeezed it before giving the blushing boy a small smile. Thanks, Naruto, this was all because of you. I don't think I'd be here if not for you, and it's because of that I've finally decided to stop fooling around, she said. The young blonde was unmoving, not knowing how to react. Somewhere else, namely Hokage office. What have your spies heard so far, Jiraiya? Asked the Hokage as he exhaled a puff of smoke from his pipe. Unfortunately, I have some bad news, sensei. My spies believe that Orochimaru is searching for Tsunade. He believes that she may just have the power needed to fix his broken arms, and it is true, as the poison was made by Tsunade herself, answered the Sannin. I see, that doesn't sound good at all. We cannot allow Orochimaru to reach Tsunade. I trust in her and her sense of judgment, but we both know Orochimaru tends to have a few tricks up his sleeve. Jiraiya, I want you to search and retrieve Tsunade back to Konoha. I know it won't be an easy task, but we cannot by any circumstances allow Orochimaru to reach her. Jiraiya nodded in understanding. I agree, sensei, but it won't be easy. You and I both know how stubborn Tsunade can be, he replied. Hiruzen chuckled lightly. You don't have to tell me twice, Jiraiya. I know better than most, said the aged Hokage. Fair enough. When do you want me to begin my search? Asked the Sannin. The sooner the better. Jiraiya nodded in understanding. Very well, sensei, I'll leave early tomorrow. But I do have one request for the mission, sensei. Oh, and what will that be? I wish to bring Naruto with me on this mission. Why would you want to do that? You do know this will be an S-rank mission. Don't worry, sensei, I know the dangers. But I'll be there right with him to protect him. I just think it'll be a good opportunity for me to train him. Plus, it's a good excuse for a godfather to spend time with his godson. Kami knows I haven't been there for him these past years. Hiruzen smiled softly at his student. I can tell this means a great deal to you. I'll allow it. I trust you to keep him safe, said the Hokage. Hi sensei, don't you worry about him. He has Jiraiya the gallant to look after him, boasted the Sannin. Hiruzen chuckled lightly and thought some things never change, I guess. He then remembered something and said, before you leave Jiraiya, come to my office tomorrow, I have a surprise for Naruto-kun. Jiraiya nodded and went through the window, making Sarutobi sigh again and think, where did I go wrong? I only trained 3 students and all 3 of them are beyond normal. One is a pedophile and Konoha's second biggest traitor after Nevermind. The second is a drunk with the worst luck of all, and the third gets himself insulted and writes perverted books, though I don't mind the last part. He soon took out an orange book and started reading it. One could see trail of blood coming from his nose but not his perverted smile. Jiraiya went out of the Hokage's office and made way towards the hospital, but suddenly he found his perverted senses tingling and grinned perversely. He came upon the scene of Naruto laying on his bed and his hand being squeezed by a pink-haired girl. He decided to have some fun with his godson. He knocked on the window and said, is this a bad time? I can come back later, with a smug grin on his face. Sakura blushed up a storm at being caught in a rather emotional moment between her and Naruto. Jiraiya-sama, what are you here for? She croaked out. Before Jiraiya was able to answer her, his student butted in. I think that his perverted senses were tingling, and he came to see me. Jiraiya groaned and said, that's a part of the reason. The main reason is that you and I are being sent out by the Hokage on a mission, he said. Sakura stood there not sure what to do. She realized this conversation was probably quite important if the Hokage himself asked for it. The pinkette let go of Naruto's hand before stepping away slowly. I think I should leave you two be. This sounds important, she said as she inched towards the door. Naruto smiled at her retreating figure. Thanks for visiting Sakura-chan, he said nervously. The kunoichi smiled at the young boy. No worries, Naruto. Be safe for your mission, she replied. Sakura-chan, before you go, Naruto called out, catching the attention of his teammate. Would you want to grab some ramen or something when I come back? He asked. Jiraiya had a knowing grin watching the interaction between these two. He made a mental note to remember these for some inspiration for his books. Yeah, you know what, I'd like that, Naruto, she replied before leaving the room. Naruto sat there in a state of bliss. He couldn't believe Sakura just agreed to it. Maybe his luck was changing. A small cough from Jiraiya broke him out of his thoughts. Oh right, the mission. So what do we need to do, sensei? He asked. You and I will be searching for my old teammate, Tsunade. She's currently roaming around the land of fire according to my spies, and the old man wants me to bring her back to Konoha. I have wanted to ask this for a long time, but why has she been gone then? Jiraiya shook his head. Sorry kid, that's not my story to tell. Tsunade has been through a lot, and she hasn't been herself for years now. But as of right now, Konoha needs her. It's also worrying that, as it turns out, Orochimaru is searching for Tsunade himself. He's looking for her to heal him, and if he does, he may return sometime soon to Konoha to finish the job off, explained the old pervert. Naruto clenched his fist. Just the name of Orochimaru brought anger to the young boy for what he's done to his friends and to his own home. Alright, so when do we head off for this mission? Tomorrow morning. I've had a talk to the administrators here, and they'll be discharging you shortly. They just have to prepare some paperwork. Once you get back home, I want you to pack up, prepare and get a full day's rest, since this journey will be quite tiring, seeing how this mission will be an S rank. Naruto nodded in understanding. Hi sensei, he replied. Alright, that's all I have to say pretty much. I'll be heading off now, Naruto. Wait, sensei, yelled the blonde. I do have one question. Ask. Why do I have to come along? Not that I'm complaining or anything, but this doesn't sound like a mission that a genin would have to do. I talked to sensei and I personally asked if I could bring you along. I'll be honest, you probably won't have to do too much in the mission, plus the old man trusts me to keep you safe. The only thing is that I want to bring you along just so that I could train you a bit more. I've already made a suitable training program for you for the duration of our mission. The blonde nodded in response. I see, that sounds good. I can't wait to leave. This hospital has been driving me crazy as of late. It's just so boring, he said. The sage chuckled softly. Very well, I'll see you tomorrow then, Naruto. Oh right, see you sensei. Oh, and Naruto, before I leave, Jiraiya called out from the window, what's your girlfriend's name? The genin turned crimson red in front of his sensei. Shut up, you Arobaka. That's none of your business, he yelled out. Jiraiya jumped out the window chuckling to himself. Sometimes it was way too easy to annoy Naruto. Hokage office. Naruto stood in the Hokage's office along with Shikamaru and Shino. They did not have the slightest idea why they were here. The Sandaime coughed to get their attention. They looked towards him as he said, now that I have your attention, first of all, I want to congratulate the three of you. You three are promoted to Chunin. Naruto was shocked. Shikamaru was thinking how more troublesome it would be, and Shino had raised eyebrows behind his sunglasses. Naruto, still shocked, asked Jig Hokage-sama, did you discuss it with the council or not? Naruto was sure that if he discussed it with the council, Sasuke would have been in his place. Sarutobi smirked, and just yes, Naruto-kun. It was one hell of a meeting, but I reminded them why I still am the Hokage despite my age and injuries. So, now we should discuss the potential candidates for Chunin, said Sarutobi, who called the meeting for the Shinobi Council. Nara Shikaku, the head of the famed Nara clan, replied, "Hi, Hoka." He was not able to finish his sentence as the doors of the council room opened to show the civilian council and the 3 elders who can't shit without help. One of them spoke up why we were not called for this meeting. Sarutobi, who had enough of them, spoke up, "Watch your tone, councilman. This is a shinobi matter, so you are not required here. When I will discuss civilian matters, it is up to me to call you or not." He even leaked his killing intent to make his point clear. All the civilian council members fainted on the spot from his killing intent. Danzo stepped forward and said, "Hiruzen, what about us?" He suddenly found swords at various points on his body. A tiger masked Anbu said, "You will address Hokage-sama by his title, not his name, Elder Danzo." Hiruzen's killing intent now directed towards Danzo, who started sweating and nodded reluctantly and thought, "Damn, of all times he has to grow a backbone, it is this time." Sarutobi dismissed the elders and told the Anbu to dump off the civilians elsewhere. "That is not the concern why you are here. Now Abirame Shino," said Sarutobi, and Shino stepped forward. "Your cool and calm attitude, the ability of leading, the plans to take on your opponent in the preliminaries and during the invasion, along with your proficiency in your clan techniques, and the ability to acknowledge when you have lost have earned you this promotion. Come here, get your Chunin kit." Shino took a scroll from the Hokage and said, "Arigato, Hokage-sama. I will uphold my duty as a Chunin of Konohagakure to the fullest of my abilities." Hokage nodded and smiled, which drew a smile from Shino himself. He then looked towards Naruto and said, "Naro Shikamaru." Shikamaru stepped up next, mumbling something about mother and troublesome. The Hokage stifled a chuckle at this and said, "Your performance in the preliminaries along with the finals and your role during the invasion have earned you this promotion." Shikamaru received the scroll and said, "Same as Shino, speaking that again is troublesome." Everyone got a large sweat drop on the back of their heads at the Nara's laziness. Hiruzen just chuckled and thought about the time he was giving another Nara his Chunin promotion years ago. He cleared his throat and called out Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto stepped forward as Hiruzen continued. "Despite not being able to use chakra and being at a high disadvantage in taijutsu, you defeated your opponent in the preliminaries. Your performance in the finals and your acts during the invasion have earned you this promotion. Take your Chunin kit from here." Naruto took his scroll and stood along with Shino in front of the Hokage and said, "Arigato, Hokage-sama. I also will uphold my duty as a Chunin of Konohagakure to the best of my abilities." Hiruzen smiled and thought, this generation of Konoha is probably the best. All of them will surpass their parents, starting with these 3. He coughed again to get their attention and said, "Those scrolls contain the standard issue kit for a Chunin, which contains 5 Chunin vests, 25 mild exploding tags. The ones you used as a genin were the normal ones, 150 makibishi, 5 sealing scrolls, a utility belt for holding swords, medical kits, Funjutsu kits or scrolls, and if you want you can get a standard issue Tanto, Chikuto or Ninjato from the armory." All 3 of them nodded. Shikamaru had a bored expression, Shino was stoic as ever, and Naruto had a smirk on his face. Sarutobi then said, "All of you are dismissed except Naruto." Shikamaru and Shino left, and Naruto then started jumping and said, "Yes, I am step closer to being the Hokage." Hiruzen then chuckled and said, "Now Naruto, calm down, I have much to discuss with you regarding the upcoming mission." Naruto calmed down and pocketed the scroll. Suddenly the window opened and Jiraiya came in and said, "Yogaki, looks like you are promoted." Naruto nodded as both of them turned to Hiruzen for the mission details. Sarutobi sighed and said, "I don't want to do this, but it is necessary now. Jiraiya, tell Tsunade that if she denies coming back, then I will label her as a missing nin and revoke her Sannin rights. And if she doesn't agree even then tell her that I will freeze the Senju clan assets and bank account, so she won't be able to gamble or travel anymore." Both Naruto and Jiraiya nodded and left through the window, leading to the groaning and twitching eyebrow of certain Sarutobi. Naruto and Jiraiya were making their way towards Otafukagai, which was a town near to Konoha. According to Jiraiya's spy network, Tsunade was seen there with her apprentice Shizen. Naruto decided to change his clothes. He was now wearing shinobi pants ending at his shins along with black shinobi sandals. He had a kunai holster on his right thigh. He also had his utility belt around his waist. He wore a full-sleeve Konoha undershirt covered by his Chunin vest. Fingerless gloves along with his supplies pouch on his right hip and Fuinjutsu kit on his left one. He wanted to explore his compound but held it off for later. Jiraiya alongside him was thinking about the next thing to teach Naruto, and his options narrowed down to only one. Jiraiya then said, "Well, Gaki, I can think of only one thing I can teach you right now." Naruto nodded. He needed to be strong as fast as possible so that he can tell the world his heritage, and not to mention being the Hokage, which went without saying. Jiraiya's mind suddenly drifted off to something that Naruto said earlier and grinned smugly at Naruto, who did not find the man's grin funny. Jiraiya then said, "Well, Gaki, do you know that since Tsunade is a medic, she has perfect control of her chakra, and with this ability, she can enhance her strength using chakra. Naruto nodded. He had heard that Tsunade could destroy mountains and buildings with just a single punch and always wondered how she was able to do that. Jiraiya then said, "So, would you like me to tell her that you called her a drunken bitch?" Naruto turned white as a sheet. Sure, he had said that but did not mean that. He said that just to make a point, not to be on the end of a monstrous punch which could destroy mountains and every single joint and bone in his body. He looked at Jiraiya with pleading eyes, who just scoffed and turned around and continued walking, whistling innocently. Naruto suddenly had an idea and smirked, which sent shivers down Jiraiya's spine for some unknown reason. Naruto then put his hands in a ram's seal and said henge. When the smoke cleared, Jiraiya's eyes widened and blood rushed out of his nose. He then started giggling perversely and started to take notes. The transformation, or as Naruto said it, Naruto opened her eyes and looked at Jiraiya with pleading eyes which melted Jiraiya's heart on the spot. Naruto then put a finger on her lips and said, "Jiraiya-sama, you will not tell Tsunade-sama, will you?" Jiraiya held up a nice guy pose and nodded. Naruto soon dispelled the henge, leaving a grumbling Jiraiya who was mumbling something about smart-ass blondes. Ignoring all this, Jiraiya then said, "Well, I think it's time for you to learn the Rasengan." Naruto instantly became happy knowing that he will learn his father's prize jutsu. He was given a water balloon by Jiraiya, who took one in his hand and said, "Well, the first step is to make this balloon burst with only your chakra, and I forbid you from using the Kage Bunshin, as this is something you should do on your own, and not to mention that we don't have enough balloons to waste." Naruto grumbled but nodded. He looked at Jiraiya, who was applying his chakra, and made the water in the balloon spun violently before the balloon burst, leaving Naruto to do the exercise while figuring it out. Some time later, Naruto was not at all happy. First, he couldn't figure out the first step of the Rasengan. Second, Tsunade had left this town before he and Jiraiya came here. Third, the pervert had gone off to hit on some women. Fourth, he could see two people in Akatsuki outfits outside his room through the peephole. And fifth, one of them was Uchiha Itachi, the slayer of the Uchiha clan and without an argument the best shinobi that Konoha had produced after the Third Shinobi World War. Naruto opened the door and was greeted by the Uchiha and a shark-looking man with a bandaged sword resting on his shoulder. The Uchiha spoke up, "Naruto-kun, we require you to come with us." Naruto knew that to fight both of them, he would have to be an idiot, and not to mention that both of them could kill him before he could even blink his eyes. His thoughts were interrupted by someone jumping through the window in the corridor. Everyone looked to see a fuming Uchiha Sasuke glaring at Itachi. If looks could kill, Itachi would have been in hell being tortured. That would make even the king of hell seem like Kami-sama. Sasuke then yelled, "Itachi, you will die today!" He made hand signs and charged up a Chidori and ran towards Itachi, who seemed unfazed by Sasuke. When Sasuke came near him, he just caught his wrist and flicked it, breaking it in the process, and kicked Sasuke to the end of the corridor. He then said, "Kisame, I will deal with my foolish little brother. You should engage Naruto-kun until then." Naruto saw the now identified Kisame sporting a grin which he didn't like even the slightest. Kisame removed the sword from his shoulder and pointed it towards Naruto and said, "Well, Kyubi Jinchuriki, give me good show." Naruto took out a kunai from his holster and held it in a reverse grip in his right hand. He couldn't use toad katas against someone like Kisame, not to mention no ninjutsu, as he was in a hotel and could harm people below the floor. He didn't know shit about genjutsu. His kenjutsu was the same as genjutsu. He had not even completed the first stage of the Rasengan. Even with the fox's chakra, he was nothing. He knew that the only thing he could do is stall until Jiraiya comes. He made 10 clones and jumped back. Kisame just laughed and said, "That's it, I heard that you were the winner of the Chunin exams. The standards must have really fallen." Kisame, in the blink of an eye, swung his sword and destroyed all the clones. With Itachi and Sasuke. Itachi saw Sasuke standing up and kicked him again to the wall. He then picked him up by the throat and looked him up in the eye and said, "Foolish little brother, you still lack the hatred to kill me. Use your hatred from this fight and experience, and grow your hatred to kill me." Sasuke, despite being held by the throat, stuttered out, "WW, what do you mean EX experience?" Itachi just smirked as his Sharingan turned into a different shape. Sasuke's eyes widened in horror, watching the same eyes that made him relive that nightmare all those years ago. The next second, he was again in the Tsukuyami and watched his family being massacred again and again, especially his parents, and the worst part was that he watched all of this from Itachi's point of view, so for him, he watching himself kill every Uchiha. This nightmare lasted for 72 hours before he got out of the genjutsu and collapsed due to psychological trauma. Itachi stood aside Kisame facing Naruto. Naruto just had one thought in mind: if I get out of here alive, I will kick that pervert to IWA of all places, with a mask of Tuchan on his face and a poster on his back saying, "I taught Namikaze Minato, the hero of Konoha." Suddenly 2 chains burst out of the ground and wrapped around Itachi and Kisame's torso. Kisame looked confused, but Itachi's eyes widened as he thought Kushina-sama's Kongo Fusa. "But I thought only in wait. Naruto-kun is an Uzumaki. Oh, don't tell me that." His thoughts were interrupted as he saw the whole corridor along with the ground being transformed to a pink substance. Naruto also looked confused. Suddenly a voice he knew called out behind him, Kuchios, Gamiguchi Shirbari. Summoning, Toad Mouth Trap. Naruto looked back and exclaimed Erosenin. Jiraiya ignored the name for now and focused on the two in front of him. Itachi saw Jiraiya and said, Kisame, retreat, we cannot engage Jiraiya now. Kisame and Itachi tried to escape but found out that the adamantine chains were still in place, preventing them to do so. Kisame released his chakra in a burst, breaking the chains and knocking Naruto back, in turn making him lose his concentration and freeing Itachi, who was not as lucky as Kisame in terms of chakra capacity. Kisame grabbed Itachi and ran towards the window before the floor captured him. On his way, he heard Jiraiya yell, "You can't escape. This is not some substance but the stomach of a Myobokuzen toad." Itachi's eyes again morphed into the Mangekyo Sharingan, and a trail of blood came from his right eye as he said Amaterasu. Black flames sprouted on Itachi's point of vision, and they cleared the way for him and Kisame to run away. The jutsu receded as Naruto and Jiraiya came upon the scene to see black flames on what was remaining of the wall. Sasuke landed with a thud on the floor. Naruto went to Sasuke as Jiraiya drew a sealing array on a blank scroll and placed it on the ground and said Fuka Hoin, fire suppression seal. Wisps of chakra came from the middle of the sealing array and sealed the fire inside the scroll. Jiraiya then went towards Naruto and asked, "So, what is his condition?" Naruto looked up and answered he seems to be in a coma, as he is definitely not unconscious. Itachi did something to him. Maybe Sasuke looked Itachi in the eye, but making a person go into coma with just genjutsu seems far-fetched. Naruto looked confused as Jiraiya elaborated, "You can actually kill someone using genjutsu. The Kurama clan is one of the examples of this. They can inflict so powerful genjutsu that can make the brain seem like everything that happened in the genjutsu is so real that the body will start to harm itself, resulting in death." Uchiha Itachi is the genjutsu master of Konoha, even more skilled than Yuhi Kurenai due to his Sharingan, so the state the Uchiha is in is just a warning or show of power to be precise. Naruto gulped audibly and started sweating. He thought, so this is an S-rank ninja, one who can kill you in the blink of an eye without remorse, and if Sensei is right then the Akatsuki is composed of them, not to mention that Itachi could be weakest of them. Naruto then stood up and swung Sasuke over his shoulders and asked Sensei, "Who was the person with Itachi?" Jiraiya then answered, "Do you know about the Kiri no Shinobigatana Shishinin Shu, 7 swordsmen of the mist?" Naruto nodded as Jiraiya continued. His name was Hoshigaki Kisame. He is also known as the Kirigakyu no Kaijin, monster of the hidden mist. He is the strongest of the 7 swordsmen of the mist. Little is known about him except the fact that his chakra levels are insane, nearly equaling that of the Biju. Naruto's eyes widened when he thought about Kisame. He is way stronger than Zabuza and Kakashi. Some time later, Jiraiya was sporting a black swollen eye and was walking down the path with Naruto, who was trying to burst the balloon. The reason for the swollen, well, Konoha's beautiful green beast forgot a mirror and kicked Jiraiya thinking that he was an enemy. He looked at Naruto, who was holding the balloon in his left hand by his side and thinking something. Jiraiya smiled, thinking about the time Minato was also deep in thought. Usually, it led to something great. He decided to let Naruto do his thinking. Naruto on the side was still thinking about the balloon in his left hand and ways to burst it. Fucking hell, I can't think of anything to burst the balloon. Wait, let's restart. So I was thinking about Sasuke's Chidori. It was wild and right-gun chakra was flying everywhere. Wait a minute, when this pervert demonstrated it to me, the water in the balloon moved violently. So wait a minute, I get it now. You are supposed to rotate the water in all directions, not just one fucking direction. Naruto took the balloon in his right hand and started applying chakra in all direction. 5 seconds later, the balloon burst, gaining the attention of Jiraiya, who looked wide-eyed at the burst balloon in Naruto's hand and Naruto. Jiraiya recovered and asked, "How did you do that?" "I just moved the chakra in all directions instead of one. You did the same thing when you demonstrated it to me," answered Naruto. Jiraiya nodded, impressed by Naruto. Naruto was becoming more like his father by each minute, but not his father. Naruto was the perfect mix of personalities between Minato and Kushina, analytical like Minato and practical like Kushina. Jiraiya then said, "Well, you have completed the exercise but not mastered it. I want you to be able to do it within a second before we move on to the next exercise." 2 weeks later. It had been a hectic and eventful couple of weeks since Naruto and Jiraiya left on their mission. The training that Naruto focused on was the Rasengan with a bit of chakra control as well. He was able to complete the second step of the Rasengan, and was close to completing the third. Eventually, both Naruto and Jiraiya were led to a town called Tanzakugai. Jiraiya's spies indicated that she was currently holed up in this small gambling town. Eventually their search ended in the town's local casino, where there were talks about a buxom blonde big spender, who just couldn't have a win to save her life or her life savings. Jiraiya for once knew that they had their target. The Sannin and his apprentice walked inside the casino, and somewhere by the bar they found a beautiful blonde woman who had bottles and bottles of sake around her table. She was accompanied by a young brunette who carried a small teacup pig with her. Hey Gaki, see that blonde over there? Asked the toad sage. Naruto nodded. Yeah, what of it? You're not going to try hit on her while we're on this mission, are you? He asked in annoyance. What? No. Well, I guess yes, but that's not the point. She's our target, that's Tsunade, he said. Naruto's eyes widened in shock. What? And away. She looks way too young to be your teammate, aren't you like 70? He asked. A tick mark appeared on Jiraiya's face. Listen Gaki, I'm not 70, I just turned 50 a few months ago, and yes, that is Tsunade. Don't let her appearances trick you, she may look young but that's just because of a genjutsu she has on, it makes her look like she was back in her 30s. But trust me, that's definitely her, I would know my own teammate anywhere. Now Naruto, during this whole encounter I want you to leave the talking to me. Don't say a word since Tsunade, for a lack of a better term, is a bit crazy. She can get psycho quite quickly, and let's just say her strength is definitely something to fear. He explained. Naruto decided to believe his teacher and follow his instructions, and so the two walked over to the booth. Tsunade was lost in her own world, she was unaware of the approaching figures. She wallowed in her own sorrow and pity, having lost insurmountable amounts of money gambling in this kami-forsaken casino. Her rut was worse than ever now, and she decided to drown all her problems down with some sweet sake, one of the few things in her life that had yet let her down. It's good to see you after so long, Tsunadeheim. I must say you're as beautiful as ever, said Jiraiya. Tsunade was left with wide eyes. She recognized that voice and there was no denying it belonged to her teammate. She turned her attention to the man, and she was right, it was Jiraiya. The legendary Kunoichi scoffed in return. I see you haven't changed one bit, you old pervert. What are you doing here? She asked before eyeing the blonde that accompanied Jiraiya. She had to shake her head to see if she was seeing right. This scene altogether looked all too familiar for her, and who's the brat? Jiraiya sat down in the booth and allowed Naruto to sit on the other seat. I came here because Konoha needs you, he said in a serious tone which was unusual for someone like Jiraiya. As for the kid, he's my latest apprentice, Naruto. She eyed Naruto for a moment before turning to Jiraiya and asked, so what do you want, Jiraiya? I don't know if you've heard, but there was a large-scale attack on Konoha not that long ago, he said, getting a shocked gasp from Tsunade's apprentice Shizun and earning the keen interest of Tsunade. I see, so what happened? Asked the slug Sannin. It was a joint attack by Suna and Oto, orchestrated by Orochimaru, he explained. Tsunade's fists clenched in anger at hearing her old teammate's name. That snake is still slithering around, she replied. Yeah, they attacked in the middle of the Chunin exams. There were many casualties during this war. Orochimaru used Edo Tensei and he summoned your grandfather and granduncle to fight for him, he hissed with anger lacing his voice. That despicable bastard, added Tsunade. Sensei and I had to fight them, and in the end, we were victorious, but we barely made it. The fight was no joke, Tsunade. I could only imagine, so from all that I'm guessing Konoha wants me back to rejoin after all their losses? Jiraiya nodded reluctantly. Yeah, that's pretty much the point on this mission. There is one other reason for it, but I'd prefer not to say it with company around, he said before turning his attention to his blonde student. Hey brat, go and practice that jutsu, you are very close, I will call you if anything is needed, said Jiraiya. Tsunade also turned to her apprentice, Shizun, do you mind if I speak to Jiraiya privately? Shizun nodded in understanding and said hi Tsunade-sama before walking away from the booth. The blonde Sannin then turned her attention to Jiraiya and asked, so what's the real reason then? Jiraiya was cautious at how to approach this as it was a kind of sensitive topic for Tsunade. In the end he mustered up the courage and said, you are chosen by Sensei to succeed him as the Godame Hokage and train a new generation of medics. He has even agreed to your program as we are not at war and have enough resources for that. Tsunade looked at Jiraiya in disbelief. How could he say that to his face, especially knowing that they were sensitive topics for her? She scowled and said, care to repeat that again? Jiraiya gulped but stood his ground. You heard that right, and Sensei has said that if you don't agree, then he will revoke your Sannin rights and mark you a missing nin along with Shizun, and if you still not agree, then he has said that he will freeze the Senju clan accounts and assets. He did the same for the Uzumaki clan in Minato. As to the public, there was no heir to them and they will stay that way, but when that brat comes to the desired age, those will be unfreezed and given to him. So freezing the Senju clan assets will have no adverse effects, and since those are clan and shinobi matters, the civilian council can't do anything and the elders and daimyo support his decision. Tsunade looked at Jiraiya in disbelief, her eyes showing the emotion of betrayal, but Jiraiya scoffed at that as he knew that she was just using it to try and play the innocent or the victim. Watching that this did not have any effect on Jiraiya, Tsunade scowled deeply and hissed, I don't care if you send hunter nins after me, but leave Shizun out of this, not to mention that I can still beat them. I am just like you, a Sannin, so tell Sensei that no way I am coming back to the village. Tsunade, see reason, come back, you are disrespecting everyone's legacy right now, especially Dan, Nawaki, your grandfather and granduncle. What do you think, That they will approve of your actions or feel ashamed," exclaimed an angry Jiraiya. Tsunade growled and yelled, "The Hokage position is just a curse. All of them died for nothing. They were nothing but fools, especially Dan and Iwaki, to dream of that position. Sensei is lucky to have survived despite the conditions." The Toad Sannin was in disbelief. He knew it would be difficult to bring her back, but he didn't expect her bitterness to extend to such high extents. He exited and found Naruto waiting outside, who said, "I am just a clone. What do you want me to tell to boss?" "Come on, Gaki, we're leaving," he huffed in annoyance. The clone just nodded and dispelled. A few minutes later Naruto arrived and was surprised to see his teacher in such an annoyed mood. "Hey sensei, are you alright? You look pissed off," he remarked. Jiraiya sighed in annoyance, knowing this won't be a subject the kid would drop. "Yeah, I am a bit pissed off. Tsunadeheim doesn't want to return to Konoha, and she's proving to be a bit of a pain," he replied. "She wouldn't be that hard to convince, would she?" asked a surprised Naruto. Jiraiya then told him everything that happened inside, and he saw Naruto barely restraining himself to go and kill Tsunade. He knew that it was impossible, but he also knew that Naruto could wound Tsunade, especially in her current state. Naruto went inside and stood in front of Tsunade, who growled and said, "What do you want now?" "I don't want to hear any of your excuses, old hag. You are coming back with us to Konoha, no matter what," he yelled out. Then just like that, a tense silence filled the air. A strong killer intent was leaking from Tsunade, and the entire crowd was rendered speechless. "What did you call me?" asked Tsunade. Naruto did not back down, and replied, "Must be the age getting to you. A piece of advice, don't drink so much, your liver will be affected, not to mention your age." "Meet me outside in 2 minutes," Gaki Tsunade replied with a dark and vengeful tone which Naruto was oblivious to. Naruto then walked out of the casino alongside his sensei. Jiraiya had no idea what to say. He couldn't believe how gutsy his student was. Being Tsunade's teammate, he knew full well just how powerful that woman was. To see Naruto, a Chunin no less, challenge a Sannin was unheard of, but then again this wouldn't be the first time the blonde brat challenged a Sannin. Once outside, Naruto found Tsunade standing on the end of the street. She stood proudly glaring at the young boy. If looks could kill, Naruto would have long been a dead man. "What are the rules?" "No rules, just a simple fight. First one to give up loses. But let's also sweeten the stakes," she replied smoothly, catching the interest of Naruto. "You want to turn this into a bet?" he asked, knowing full well her luck at gambling. Despite being known as the legendary sucker for her uncanny misfortunes in gambling, this didn't stop her one bit. "So what'll be the stakes?" asked Naruto. "If I win, you will give me all your money and return back without pestering me and convince the Sandaime to remove my punishment," she answered. "And what if I win?" he asked. "I will come back to Konoha and become the Hokage, along with training a new generation of medics." Naruto looked at her in disbelief and said, "That is my mission, not your choice to be put forward in a bet." Tsunade scowled and said, "Then what do you want?" Naruto closed his eyes and thought for a moment. He opened his eyes and answered, "Access to the Senju library along with the armory and jutsus, also, the secret to your super strength." Tsunade smirked and said, "Let's raise the stakes even more. If I win, I will give you my grandfather's invaluable necklace." Naruto smiled and nodded. A lot was at stake, especially the future of Konoha along with the careers of the Hatake and the Uchiha. Only this old hag in front of him could heal them. Naruto cocked his fist back and rushed towards Tsunade, who was first surprised by his speed but recovered and brought up a finger to deal with Naruto. Naruto ducked and went back as Tsunade arrogantly proclaimed, "One finger. That's all I need to defeat you, brat." Naruto ran at her again and made a clone in the midway, which surprised Tsunade again. The clone tried to attack Tsunade up front, but she flicked her finger on the clone's chest, which made Naruto, who was going to follow his clone, step back. Naruto made 4 clones who ran and surrounded Tsunade. All 4 rushed at her, who just destroyed them again with a finger flick. After the smoke cleared, she saw fire coming towards her from the front and jumped up. She saw Naruto, who was scowling. Watching this, Tsunade smirked, but it was short-lived as the Naruto on the ground dispelled, showing that he was also a shadow clone. She ducked midair just in time to avoid a kick from the Chunin. Tsunade did not want to admit it, but being out of practice for 10 years along with alcohol were showing her down incredibly. She saw Naruto throw a smoke bomb on the ground and cursed. She had just relied on instincts when there were situations like these. She heard a swirling sound behind her, turned just in time to see Naruto rushing at her with a perfect Rasengan between both of his hands. She cursed Jiraiya for teaching him this jutsu. She descended her finger on the ground with full force, cracking it in 2 and throwing Naruto off balance. Because Naruto had still not perfected the Rasengan with one hand, he lost balance, and the Rasengan exploded on his hand. Jiraiya watched this and was again shocked. Naruto only needed some more practice to make a Rasengan with one hand. Maybe improving his chakra control will help. Tsunade looked at Jiraiya and said, "You taught him that jutsu?" Naruto picked himself off the ground and sent silent eye message to his teacher that said, "Don't tell her that I know." Jiraiya hummed and said, "Well, he was showing promise, so I decided to teach him that move." She looked at Naruto and said, "Brat, why do you get so offended when you hear someone badmouthing the Hokages?" Naruto's eyes burned with determination as he looked her in the eye and said, "Because unlike you, being the Hokage is my dream." Tsunade froze. That proclamation, she had heard that before, but not with this determination. It reminded her of only one person, her grandfather, Senju Hashirama. She closed her eyes and thought something for a moment. Meanwhile, Naruto arrived and stood beside Jiraiya cursing himself. Tsunade opened her eyes and said, "Well, brat, I do have to say that you pushed me into a corner. Let's change our bet now." Naruto listened carefully to Tsunade, who continued, "If you are able to master that move with one hand, you win the bet, but if you don't, I win. I will give you a week to do so." Naruto nodded, ready to show this old hag her place. He and Jiraiya went back to their hotel, which was surprisingly Tsunade's hotel too. They went off to their respective rooms and went to sleep after a long day. The next day, Naruto arrived along with Jiraiya in a clearing to start their practice on the Rasengan. Currently 30 of his clones were working on the next level of chakra control, which was Senbon balancing. It included balancing a Senbon on your fingertips. Needless to say, Senbon were being launched and rained down that day. A few days had passed for Naruto, and his training was starting to pay off. He was now able to create a Rasengan in one hand in 4 seconds. He wanted to lower the time, but decided to work on that when he got back to Konoha. Today was the final day of the bet. Naruto was ready to show that old hag the results and get access to the Senju library along with the super strength. But just before Naruto and Jiraiya could leave, they heard a loud and urgent knock on the front door of their rented motel room. Naruto hurriedly opened the door only to find a panting Shizen. "Jiraiya-sama, I need your help. It's Tsunade-sama," she exclaimed urgently. Jiraiya immediately sprang forth and rushed to the front of the door. "Is everything all right, Shizen? What happened?" he asked in a nervous tone. "Tsunade-sama drugged me and left me in the apartment. I think she's intending to meet with Orochimaru." Jiraiya's eyes widened. "Orochimaru? How the fuck did this happen?" he demanded answers. "Orochimaru paid us a surprise visit the other day. He didn't stay long at all. He asked if Tsunade-sama would join his forces and heal his arms. In return, he promised to revive my Uncle Dan and Nawaki. That snake bastard, take us to where Tsunade might be," ordered the Sannin, and just like that the 3 shinobi ran off to where the meeting might be held. Eventually their fast-paced running led them to an area outside of Tanzakagai, away from the town and its inhabitants in the middle of a large field. There they found Tsunade standing on top of a large slug, while on the opposite end Orochimaru stood alongside his apprentice Kabuto on top of a large snake summon. "It turns out you have some reinforcements," Tsunade muttered Orochimaru. Tsunade turned around to find Jiraiya running towards her. "Don't worry, Haim, help is on the way," he yelled before forming a few hand seals. "Kuchio's no jutsu," he yelled as a large plume of smoke enveloped the area, and suddenly just like that Jiraiya stood on top of a gigantic war toad as well. Orochimaru scowled, noticing the obvious disadvantage. "Kabuto, I'm going to need your help. We'll need to summon another snake to take these 2 on," he ordered as his apprentice weaved through his own hand seals, and on their side appeared another snake the size of Manda. "Alright, I think we can handle things from here, Kabuto. I want you to get rid of Tsunade's apprentice and the Kyuubi brat while I deal with my 2 teammates," he instructed. "Hi, Orochimaru-sama," he said before jumping off the top of the snake summon. He immediately ran towards Shizen and Naruto. Shizen pushed Naruto back. "Naruto-kun, please stay aside for now and let me handle him," she said. Little did she know Naruto wasn't one to wait on the sidelines. He quickly engaged Shizen into a heated taijutsu battle. He punched and kicked her as she was immediately placed on the defensive. She didn't think that he would be as strong and fast as he was at that age. It was clear she misjudged just how strong this guy was. But while Kabuto was locked in combat with Shizen, he almost missed the incoming kick from Naruto. He jumped back a few feet before the kick could land. "That's not nice, Naruto. It's not very polite attacking people's blind spots," he said. "We're ninjas. We're not meant to play by the rules," he said before summoning a few shadow clones to attack Kabuto. "Sinai Jashu, hidden shadow snake hands," he yelled as he sent a handful of snakes from his sleeve towards Naruto's clones, quickly dispelling each of them as a result. Then it was Shizen's turn to attack. She used her Dokujiri, poison mist, technique as she exhaled a large fog of poisonous gas meant to incapacitate the young Loto ninja. Kabuto, on the other hand, had plans. He weaved through hand seals and used Suetun, Daibakufu no Jutsu, water release, great waterfall technique, as he expelled a large volume of water resembling a gigantic waterfall to counter the poisonous fog. The force of the water was powerful enough that it even blew Shizen out of the way, leaving her unconscious. Tsunade saw this from her peripheral vision, and she wanted to jump down and help her apprentice. But unfortunately for her, she couldn't afford to leave Jiraiya with these snakes, since doing so would leave her teammate in a risky situation. She saw that Naruto was still standing, as much as she wanted to step in, but she knew that for the sake of Shizen both had to put their trust on Naruto. After the large display of water, Kabuto immediately rushed towards Naruto with his Chakura no Mezu, chakra scalpels, Blue chakra was surrounding Kabuto's hands, forming a scalpel shape. Naruto was shocked by the attack that he failed to notice Kabuto's incoming attack in time. He jumped back to avoid a fatal hit, but he was still left with a large cut along his torso. The young blonde winced in pain as blood seeped to his clothes, but he didn't have much time to breathe since Kabuto came forth once more to attack Naruto. He could only dodge and weave his way through the attacks. Things weren't looking good for Naruto. He didn't expect Kabuto to be as strong as he was either. The Snake Sannin's apprentice then jumped back a few meters and unleashed a powerful Suiton jutsu meant for Naruto. Suiton, Suryudan no Jutsu, Water Release, Water Dragon Bullet Technique, he yelled as he summoned a large water dragon towards the genin. Naruto made a clone who weaved the hand signs for Futon, Detappa, Wind Release, Great Breakthrough, while he weaved the hand signs for the Katon, Gokakyu no Jutsu, Fire Release, Great Fireball Technique, as he exhaled a large fireball while his clone exhaled a large and powerful gust of wind towards the water dragon. The two techniques collided, causing a standstill as the water began turning into steam, clouding the arena. The Naruto clone used the Futon, Detappa to clear the steam and dispelled. Naruto saw Kabuto recovering due to the steam on his glasses. He saw this an opportunity and went on the offensive. He threw a single shuriken and then he weaved through hand seals to use the Shuriken Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. The shuriken then multiplied from 1 to over 100. Naruto followed this up immediately with Futon, Repusho, Wind Release, Gale Palm, sending a gust of wind to strengthen the attack power and speed of the shuriken. Unfortunately for Naruto, this wasn't enough. Kabuto quickly recovered and managed to counter this with Doton, Dorakugeshi, Earth Release, Earth Shore Return, creating a small yet thick and sturdy wall of earth in front of him to shield him from the incoming projectiles. Naruto saw this and then he ran towards Kabuto with his chakra chains unleashed from his back. The chains impacted the wall Kabuto made and it crumbled immediately, and he was left with a small window to dodge Naruto's sudden attack. Doton, Mogirigaku no Jutsu, Earth Release, Hiding like a Mole Technique. With that jutsu, Kabuto was able to turn the ground he stood on into sand as he quickly devoured just in time to dodge the blonde's attack. That was too close of a call, he thought to himself as he began to sink further into the ground. Now it was his time to counterattack. Quickly he began to reappear from the ground just behind Naruto. Naruto cursed his luck, missing his target in a matter of seconds. He was so close to delivering the final blow, and yet the bastard managed to elude him still. Naruto then heard a small noise behind him, so he tried to jump away, but then yelled out in pain as Kabuto delivered a near-fatal attack behind him. He turned back only to find a grinning Kabuto. Damn, I let that bastard get the sneak on me. I wasn't careful enough, he thought to himself. Naruto suddenly started feeling somewhat woozy. He looked to his front and then glanced to his back, and his eyes widened in shock as he saw his entire torso drenched in blood. The blood loss was hitting him quick as he felt his legs give out. He collapsed on the floor as his vision began to go blurry. Kabuto chuckled sinisterly as he grabbed a kunai from his holster. You put a decent fight, Naruto-kun, but unfortunately your time is up, he said as he approached the wounded kid. Naruto felt something stir within him. He knew what exactly it was. The Kyuubi was trying to give Naruto one of its tails for power. Naruto, however, didn't want any of it. He fought it as best he could. He never wanted to give in to the Kyuubi ever again. He wanted to win fights on his own strength now. The odds weren't looking good for Naruto, but knew he wouldn't die here. Tsutenkyaku, Heavenly Foot of Pain. Tsunade landed near Kabuto with an earth-shattering axe kick that made the ground itself quake and break and said, "You will not go near this boy." It was no use. Tsunade had no other choice but to jump in. She trusted Jiraiya to hold his own for a few minutes before she returned to fight Orochimaru. If she didn't leave at the time she did, it was very likely Shizen and Naruto would be dead by now. Kabuto was blown away by the impact. He braced for the force of the attack and he was sent skidding a few meters back. While Kabuto was trying to recover, Tsunade made her way to Naruto to heal him. She used her Shozen Jutsu, Mystical Palm Technique. As a bright green chakra engulfed her hands, she placed them over Naruto's wounds, but as soon as she touched Naruto's skin, she felt a warm liquid surround her hands. Tsunade nearly vomited, but she kept it in. She tried her best to heal him, but even she was struggling due to the amount of blood. She felt pathetic at that moment. What kind of doctor was she? How could she even consider herself a doctor if she had a fear for blood? She did enough to seal off Naruto's wounds, but that left her in a worse state. She was in her own world, disoriented and panicking. Her breathing grew heavy as her eyes shakily focused on her blood-stained hands. This very sight of her own bloody hands forced her to relive those terrible moments, the times when she couldn't save her own little brother and her own lover. Kabuto noticed her state of panic, so he rushed in to seize the opportunity. His hands were enveloped with his chakra scalpels, and from behind he managed to stab Tsunade straight through her torso. Tsunade's eyes widened in shock as she coughed out blood. Kabuto walked over to face her. She glanced up at the young man and she glared at him as he wore a sadistic grin. "It looks like your time is up, Tsunade-sama. Honestly, I expected better from you, he said as he grabbed her by the hair. He placed his chakra scalpel just by her neck, and she was ready to end her life here and there. Jiraiya watched on, unable to do anything. Tsunade! He yelled out in anguish. He was about to jump off, but then Orochimaru and his snake summon Manda slithered to the back of Gamabunta, surrounding the Toad Sage and his summon. Where do you think you're going, Jiraiya-kun? We have you surrounded, Kakuka, Orochimaru said. Jiraiya clenched his fists in anger, knowing he couldn't escape now that he was being attacked from the front and the back. Katsuyu herself was struggling enough as is, and if he left her and Gamabunta, they were going to struggle. Naruto, do something, he prayed. Naruto lay on the ground watching Kabuto as he readied his blade to kill Tsunade. His entire body was in complete pain, and he was feeling dreary with the loss of blood. But he knew he had to act now or else. Adrenaline was kicking in the boy's system. Before he could even think, his body stood up and he ran towards Kabuto. This is it, I cannot mess this up now, the genin thought to himself. Kabuto laughed as Tsunade struggled to escape from her captor vice grip. Say your prayers, he said. But before he could slice Tsunade's neck, he was attacked from the back with a powerful jutsu. Rasengan, yelled Naruto as he plunged the jutsu into Kabuto's back. The Otonin screamed in pain as he was sent flying towards the opposite direction by the force of that devastating attack. Tsunade's eyes widened as she glanced up at her savior. The blonde boy she doubted stood in front of her, covered in blood and bruises, but standing tall, nonetheless. To think she had to be saved by genin. She chuckled to herself. She couldn't be outdone by the brat. There was no other alternative. She knew she had to use her secret technique. She knew she had to release the power of her Byakugo no-in, Byakugo seal, also known as the strength of the 100 seal. The powerful Fuin jutsu marked on her forehead. Infuin, Kai-in seal, release, she muttered as a powerful chakra began to engulf Tsunade. Her wounds began to heal and a pattern began to form on her body stemming from the diamond seal on her forehead. Tsunade stood up from her position and glanced down at the shocked look from Naruto. You saved my life, Naruto, and it's time I finally put an end to this fight, she said. But before she jumped into the fray of battle, she kneeled to face Naruto near eye level. She leaned forward and placed a chaste kiss on Naruto's forehead, causing the young blonde's cheeks to redden. Tsunade then removed her necklace before placing it on Naruto's neck. You won the bet, Naruto. I honestly didn't think you would do it, but you proved me wrong. Take care of that necklace, Naruto. From now on it's all yours, she said. Naruto smiled at the Sannin before chuckling nervously. You know what, you aren't so bad after all, he said, causing Tsunade to chuckle softly. She ruffled his hair before standing back up. Despite what I said back then, don't ever give up on your dream, Naruto. One day you will become a great Hokage, she said before jumping into the battle. Naruto stood there silent, surprised at how much the lady believed in him. It made him feel good knowing that little by little he was finally changing the hearts of people. But before he could ponder much longer, the stress and fatigue took over his body and boy fainted from exhaustion and injuries. Tsunade jumped straight for one of the snake summons, and delivering a powerful jaw-break punch, causing one of them to immediately dispel. Orochimaru cursed his luck seeing Tsunade return, and in her most powerful form as well. The odds weren't looking good for him anymore. It seems I'm in an obvious disadvantage here. I must bid you too, farewell, he hissed, until we meet again. Just like that, he and his summons were enveloped by a large plume of smoke. The two Sannin knowing full well there was no way of chasing him and Kabuto if they were reverse summoned. Soon after the departure of the obvious threats, Jiraiya turned to Tsunade as he wore a smug and all-knowing grin. Looks like the Gaki managed to charm his way into your heart, he remarked. Tsunade chuckled softly. Naruto definitely has a way of making people a believer. You can't help but root for the brat. That boy is special. He carries the spirit and ambition of Dan and Nawaki, and he kind of reminds me of my grandfather in a way, she replied. He's going to make a great Hokage one day, Tsunadeheim. Tsunade nodded in agreement. I know, I just hope we both live to see the day, she remarked. Let's go home? Asked Jiraiya. A small smile graced the slug Sannin's face. It's about time I returned. It's been far too long, she replied. Chapter 5, The Raijin no Ken. The young blonde groggily stood up from his bed. He hazily used his arm to wipe his eyes before a large yawn escaped his mouth. Naruto grunted something indiscernible as he was forced to wake up from the knocks on his door. It was so early in the morning and he was still deprived of the proper sleep he craved. After bringing back Tsunade, there were celebrations all over Konoha when they heard that she has returned. After that, the Sandaime announced that he was retiring and this time, permanently, and that his successor was Tsunade. The people were over-ecstatic. He remembered about his bet and smirked. He now had the largest source of information in the world because of that. After that, she had also healed Kakashi and the Uchiha and was diagnosing Lee, so Naruto really got no sleep and wanted to sleep very badly. The newly promoted Chunin gingerly walked over to the door, and upon opening it he was rather annoyed not to find anyone there. Instead there was a plume of smoke and a small note on the ground. Naruto, before reading the note, already knew this was Kakashi's doing. He then picked up the small note on the floor and briefly read it. It confirmed to him it really was from Kakashi. It told him to meet by Team 7's usual training ground later that day for a quick meeting, then team training now that everyone was back and fully recovered. Naruto headed back to his home to get ready quickly. He cooked himself a quick and simple breakfast before going to shower and change into his new Chunin uniform. The young blonde checked himself out in the mirror after changing, and he had to admit it looked pretty good. He couldn't help but smirk proudly at his new uniform. This was the symbol and the representation of his new promotion and his major achievement of becoming a Chunin. He wore black shinobi pants along with black shinobi sandals, a Konoha long-sleeve undershirt and his Chunin vest on top. He had a bingo book in his right pocket of the vest and wore black, fingerless, metal-plated Konoha gloves. He had his new black-colored hitaite on his forehead and finally, his kunai holster on his right thigh, Fuinjutsu kit on his right hip, ninja tools kit on his left hip, all held by the utility belt. With everything prepared and ready, Naruto headed out in search of his team and their training grounds. He only hoped that this time Kakashi wouldn't be late. He had to wake up early today, and if that was all for naught, Naruto would be annoyed. He decided to go to his clan compound later to explore it and find out what his parents had left for him. He also had to visit Tsunade regarding the compound, Senju clan library and armory, and also the high-level chakra control exercises along with the secret of her super strength. Training ground. Kakashi sat on top of one of the log stumps in the training ground reading his Aika book. He was waiting patiently for the final member of his team. Earlier that day he had already called Sakura and Sasuke, and those two were waiting alongside him. In all honesty, it hadn't been that long thus far. He just chose to notify Naruto last since his house was the most out of the way from his 3 students. As per usual, Sasuke was sitting down patiently while Sakura tried talking to him, but of course her effects were all ignored by the stoic Uchiha. Kakashi paid no attention to his 2 other students by now. He was used to their usual antics. But he was really looking out for Naruto's arrival. The Jonin could barely contain the small grin on his face. Lucky for him, he had his mask help him conceal it from the others. He had gotten news yesterday of Naruto's promotion alongside Shikamaru, and he couldn't be prouder of the young Uzumaki. But on the other hand, he felt guilty as he had absolutely no hand in his success and could not claim it. But he decided to make it up to the blonde shinobi starting today. Naruto had worked hard for this, and he proved to Kakashi and many others that he would be a formidable ninja in the future. And speak of the devil, the young blonde arrived walking over to the trio at a leisurely pace with his hands on his pocket. Kakashi smiled as he closed his book and placed it back on his pocket. Sakura and Sasuke also noticed the arrival of Naruto, and the two were surprised to say the least concerning Naruto's change of attire. The newly promoted Chunin waved his hands at his team. "Hey guys, long time no see, good to be back," Naruto greeted exuberantly. Sakura's eyes widened in shock as Naruto grew closer, and as she managed to get a closer look towards Naruto's new outfit. "Kakashi-sensei, what's with Naruto's new outfit? Is it what I think it is?" she asked in utter disbelief. Kakashi chuckled and nodded at Sakura. "Hi, Naruto over here just got recently promoted to Chunin by Sandaime-sama," he explained before proudly ruffling Naruto's spiky hair. "Congratulations on the new promotion, Naruto. I'm proud of you." Naruto glared at the Jonin, which said, "You have no part in this," getting him to look guilty because of that. Sakura and Sasuke remained rather silent in utter disbelief that Naruto would be the first to get promoted to Chunin among the 3 of them. Sasuke more so than Sakura, as she had seen Naruto's powers against Gaara. It was a safe bet it would have been Sasuke, but it appears the underdog ended up getting promoted first. "Wow, I guess congratulations are in order." "Nice one, Naruto. Are you the only who's been promoted?" asked a curious Sakura. Naruto shook his head. "No, it's not just me, Sakura-chan. Shikamaru and Shino were also promoted to Chunin," he admitted. "Cha, what the fuck? I understand, Naruto, but how did that lazy ass and that bug freak get promoted?" Inner Sakura asked in utter disbelief. "I know what you mean, Inner. Naruto has grown stronger. I mean, he single-handedly beat that Gaara guy. The idea of Naruto getting promoted isn't as far-fetched, but Shikamaru and Shino as well? That is ridiculous." "Hey Sakura-chan, are you alright?" Naruto asked out of concern. Sakura blinked before shaking her head. "Yeah, I'm alright, just lost a bit of focus for a second there," she replied with a nervous chuckle. Naruto nodded. "Okay, then I believe you, I guess," he replied before looking at Sasuke, who simply scowled, refusing to acknowledge Naruto or his promotion. The young blonde raised a single eyebrow. "What's his problem?" he asked himself. Kakashi noticed this and decided to break the tension. "Congratulations again, Naruto. I heard about your promotion yesterday, and I decided to call a meeting for a few reasons. One being to properly congratulate you for being promoted to Chunin. I remember when I was first promoted, it was one of the proudest days of my life, and I'm sure it's yours as well," he said. "What are the other reasons then?" asked Naruto. "The first is to gauge all your skills again. It's been a while since we've been a proper team again with the whole Chunin exams and everything after then. You've all trained with different people around that time, and now I just want to see how much everyone has progressed since our last proper time as a team, he explained. The other reason is to discuss the new team dynamics now that Naruto is a Chunin. I'm sure Tsunade-sama already explained everything to you, Naruto, but now that you're an actual Chunin you won't have to be with this team all the time. You may be sent on other missions with other teams, or you might choose to join other missions you see fit. In the instance of that, or whenever you are in a mission with us, I'd like to discuss how the team will function. Everyone understand? Hi Kakashi-sensei, replied Sakura, as Naruto and Sasuke simply nodded in understanding. Kakashi clapped his hands before pulling something out his back pocket. He revealed a pair of bells, bringing out a sense of nostalgia to the team. You three already know what the point of this exercise is. I'll put the timer to 30 minutes. I won't be holding back this time, but that only means I'll be expecting you three to work together this time. I want a proper challenge unlike last time, and I'm looking forward to seeing how much you three have grown since then, he said before vanishing, leaving a plume of smoke. The three genin shielded their eyes as the smoke engulfed the area. Soon as it disappeared, so did Kakashi, as the Jonin was nowhere to be seen. Damn it, Hatake is back at it with his tricks, said Naruto. Alright guys, let's go look for Kakashi, he said before summoning 10 shadow clones to help him look all over the place. Sasuke scowled before unleashing his Sharingan to help him search for their sensei. Sakura decided to go follow Sasuke in hopes they'll soon find their sensei. The original Naruto ran all around the training grounds in search of Kakashi, then for a quick second he stopped as he felt one of his clones disappear. He then grinned and summoned a few more shadow clones. Their duty was to find and gather Sakura and Sasuke while he went after Kakashi himself. The young blonde ran towards the direction of his sensei, and there he found him leaning towards a tree reading his book. Oh, I see you found me, Naruto. Quite impressive indeed, he said before placing the book in his pocket. Now show me what you got. Naruto grinned before running at Kakashi, engaging him in a small taijutsu fight. He went in with a flurry of attacks, but of course they were neutralized by Kakashi. But he had to admit Naruto's taijutsu wasn't as sloppy or random as it was once. It was still a bit unrefined but improved significantly since their first bout. Naruto then jumped back, seeing how taijutsu wasn't working at all. He wiped away the small blood stain on his cheek before unleashing a hand seal, Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, shadow clone technique, he yelled. Now he summoned 10 shadow clones and all of them jumped at Kakashi. This time Kakashi was serious. He pulled out a kunai and began to quickly slash away Naruto's clones before landing a proper kick to the original's gut. But as soon as Naruto was sent back flying from that kick, he heard a voice from the opposite direction. Katon, Gokake no Jutsu, fire release, great fireball technique. He turned back to see Sasuke arriving with Sakura as well. Kakashi reacted quickly, forming new hand seals himself. Naruto saw this. He quickly stopped nursing his gut, and he summoned a shadow clone to help him with his jutsu. Kakashi on the other hand yelled out Doton, Dorihiki, as a wall of earth sprung forth from the ground, protecting him from Sasuke's attack. As soon as the fire died down, the wall fell back to the earth. It was then Naruto decided to strike. He jumped at Kakashi and the Jonin only just noticed him in the last second. He used a Shunshin to replace his body with a nearby tree stump. Rasengan, yelled Naruto. Naruto then plunged the blue ball of chakra into the tree stump, causing it to explode and blast off far away from the sheer impact and strength of the attack. Sakura and Sasuke were shocked at the jutsu. They couldn't believe a power like that came from Naruto. The young Uchiha clenched his fists. What the fuck was that? It seemed stronger than my Chidori, Sasuke thought to himself in anger and frustration. Whoa, that was cool. What was that, Naruto? Asked Sakura. The Chunin cursed his luck. His sensei managed to escape just in time before appearing just behind him a second later. He put his right hand on Naruto's shoulder with his left hand, placing a kunai to his back so that he wouldn't attack him. Kakashi couldn't help but whistle in appreciation of the jutsu. Impressive, Naruto, it seems Jiraiya taught you well. I'm amazed you managed to learn the Rasengan already. Quite the power A-rank jutsu, is it not? He asked. Naruto grimaced as he felt the kunai scratching his back but said nothing, showing that he has not acknowledged Kakashi's words. Kakashi nodded, not going to say anything. Well, have it your way then, he replied before jumping back to give himself space. You still have a long way to go. The Jonin then began to unleash his own Rasengan in his right hand. Naruto's eyes widened in disbelief before pointing at Kakashi in shock. Naruto showed no reaction to Kakashi forming the Rasengan, which led Kakashi to believe that Jiraiya would have already told him. Kakashi-sensei, what is this jutsu anyway? Sakura questioned curiously. This, my dear Sakura, is called the Rasengan, one of Konoha's most powerful and notorious jutsus. It is an A-rank jutsu created by my sensei, the Yondaime Hokage, and it took him 3 years to create it. Since then only Jiraiya-sama of the Sannin and I have learned how to form this jutsu, until Naruto here. Sakura's expression was of utter disbelief as well. She couldn't believe that Naruto managed to learn a jutsu so rare and powerful. Maybe she really did misjudge Naruto. I mean, he did show his strength and skill in the Chunin exams, it turns out he isn't really a dead last after all. Enough of this talk, let's continue, yelled Sasuke as he ran at Kakashi while forming hand seals. Chidori. Kakashi turned to dodge the attack before landing yet another powerful punch, this time of Sasuke's gut. Sasuke skidded a few meters back before cursing his luck. Sakura then ran up throwing a few shuriken at Kakashi, but the Jonin managed to quickly dismantle them with his kunai. Until Naruto jumped up again with a brand new Rasengan. He jumped up to dodge their attack instead, but instead of colliding, the jutsu with a nearby tree. While up in the air, Kakashi braced himself for yet another attack from Sasuke. Katan, Gokakyu no Jutsu. This time Kakashi defended himself with Suiton, Suiden no Jutsu, water release, water bullet technique, knowing that water would beat fire. Kakashi then landed back on the ground, and as he did, his stopwatch conveniently rang, marking the end of the 30 minutes. He clapped his hands, marking the end of the exercise, and although he was practically unscathed, he was impressed. I mean, after all, no one expected the three of them to defeat Kakashi in his own game after all. Quite impressive, you three. You've all grown, especially you, Naruto, and I'm more than proud to witness you all grow right in front of me. You three still have a long way to go, but you three should feel proud of how much you've grown. And as for you, Naruto, you really showed me today that you do deserve the rank of Chunin. The Rasengan is a powerful jutsu, so use it well and be careful with it. In the wrong hands it could be devastating, he explained. Naruto just nodded his head in understanding, refusing to say anything to make Kakashi guiltier. But remember, Naruto, in fact this goes out to the three of you. Never feel satisfied. You can always improve one way or another, and the worst thing you can do is stagnate, no matter how strong you are, because there is always someone out there growing stronger. Hi sensei, replied the three students. Well then, with that out of the way, we have to go on to team dynamics with, and without Naruto. As a Chunin, Naruto will not be able to join us for every mission, seeing how he might be called forth for other missions by the Hokage herself. And in the chance of that, we either carry forth as a three-man team, or sometimes we might have another genin, or even a Chunin every now and then join us for that mission. Seeing how we'll most likely only deal with C-rank missions the most, we're more likely to have another genin replace Naruto for the duration of the mission. What about when Naruto's with us then, sensei? Asked the Pinkette. Well, when Naruto is with us, he shall effectively be second in command straight after me, said Kakashi as both Sasuke and Sakura's jaws fell to the ground. Say it isn't so, sensei. Are you sure about this? Asked the Kunoichi in distress. Kakashi nodded. Yup, it's only fair seeing how he outranks you two. Look past the Naruto of old. Naruto proved himself enough to deserve the title of Chunin, and in Ninja Rulebook the leadership goes down from ranks. Until you two both reach the level of Chunin, Naruto will remain my number 2, he replied. So, now that we have much more time till the next exam, and after reviewing your performance in the exams, I have decided to train you individually in your own specialties. Okay then, what do you have in mind then, sensei? Asked Sakura. Kakashi's glanced over to the young Uchiha. Well, for you, Sasuke, the plan is to help you out a bit more with the Chidori and work on your Sharingan a bit more, he answered as Sasuke nodded in understanding. As for you, Sakura, you will be trained in increasing your chakra reserves and physical fitness. From what I saw a while ago, Sakura, you still lack the chakra and physical stamina required from a ninja, but you do possess amazing chakra control. But before I could teach you some jutsus, we'll first need to increase your chakra reserves so that you won't suffer from chakra exhaustion. Then finally there's you, Naruto. Just give me some advice on right-on manipulation and some right-on jutsus. I don't think that you can train me in anything else, to be fair. Kakashi frowned and tried to reason with Naruto, who just looked at him and said, that is the reality. You and I both know that my library is an ocean of knowledge, so don't try to reason with me. If you can't do what I asked, then leave it at that. I can learn right-on manipulation later on. Kakashi reluctantly nodded and gave Naruto 2 scrolls, one containing right-on manipulation exercises and the other containing right-on jutsus that he had in his arsenal. Some days later, Naruto along with Jiraiya stood in front of the Uzumaki clan compound after getting his sleep fulfilled. He had decided that no one will know that he knows his heritage, and that he will reveal it in such a way that not only Konoha but the whole elemental nations will be shaken to the core. Naruto entered the compound by smearing his blood on the seal present on the gate, which was the Uzumaki swirl. The gates opened and he entered the compound and started exploring. He had to say, it was one big hell of a house. Like traditional Japanese houses, it had a garden from the gate to the entrance of the main house. The garden had well-maintained trees, flowers, and even a lake which was surprisingly clean. He walked until he saw something to his right. There were statues of 2 people. One had a Konoha Hittite, while the other, he could guess, was the Uzushio Hittite because of the Uzumaki swirl on it. He came closer and realized that the person on the right was the Shodai Hokage, Senju Hashirama, while he did not know about the one on the left. Wondering who are they and why are they like this? Came the voice of Jiraiya from the back. He looked at him and nodded. Jiraiya came and stood beside Naruto, watching those statues, which he had not seen in years. The one on the left is Uzumaki Ashina, father-in-law of the one on the right, Shodai-sama. He was the Uzumaki clan head when Konoha was founded. Yuzushiogakure was our greatest ally during the First Shinobi War. You can ask Sensei sometime. He fought alongside many Uzumakis during the First War. To this day, he still says that the destruction of Yuzu has to be his biggest failure. He built this compound in Konoha only for Mito-sama and your mother. He always said that both the Shodame and the Nightingale would never forgive him, but he could do his best for the clan, said Jiraiya. Naruto nodded, processing the information. He will have to thank his Gigi sometime, as having this big of house built only for 2 members would have been difficult, especially with those old crones, Uchiha clan and the Hyuga clan, on the council. He went inside the compound and started exploring it. He went through all the rooms except the library, where his clones were. He went for the last 2 rooms, one of which he deduced were his parents', but did not know about the last one. He went to his parents' bedroom, and he opened the door. He saw that the room was still in perfect condition. There was some secret as to how the whole compound was still perfect even after all these years. He will have to find it, though. Naruto sat on the bed and shifted his eyes around the room. He smiled sadly, seeing the portraits that were hung on the wall within the room. The portraits were truly beautiful. He would not mind gazing on them for a full day. His parents seemed to be truly happy together. They seemed perfect for each other. There was no doubt about that within his head. Naruto's eyes trained on the one that his mother was still pregnant with him. The smiles on both their faces made him shed a tear. He could only guess how happy they must have known that they were expecting their first child. By just looking at the portrait, he could only say really happy they must have waited patiently for his birth so that they could see their first product, their joy. A pity they never got the chance to live with him after his birth. They never got to hear his first words or hear him call them Ka-chan, and Tsunade. Death had taken them away from their beloved the day he was born. The world had a funny way of operating. He went over to the last room to see whose it was, and as he opened the room, he saw something that made him cry. He fell on his knees and cried to his heart's content. There was a crib inside this room. Without any doubt it was the room that was built for him. The crib was made for him. It was the room at which he was supposed to have had nightmares in. He was supposed to let loose of unwanted water inside his body while he was sleeping peacefully inside the crib. A pity he never got the chance to rest on it. Instead, he had a cold and lonely bed at the orphanage. He would have wished just for once to enjoy the comfort of the bed his parents had prepared for him. They had made it, but never got the chance to watch him fall asleep inside the little bed they had made. If he could fit inside the crib, Naruto would have jumped inside and taken a nap. But he was not. He could only enjoy the comfort with his own hands and thoughts. One thing was certain, though. He was going to leave the room as it was. Nothing would be changed from the room. Perhaps his own children will enjoy the comfort he never got the chance to enjoy. He felt an arm on his shoulder and looked back to see Jiraiya, who was shedding a few tears of his own. I still remember when they told me that Kushina was pregnant. They were the happiest people on the planet that day. They loved you from that moment on. This room, the crib, they made all the preparations just for you. A shame that neither they nor you could enjoy all of this, said Jiraiya. Naruto nodded and left the room untouched, as he did not want to remain there any longer. No doubt, he would cry the hell out if he did. A clone came to him and Jiraiya outside the room and said, "Boss, I found the notes for the Hiraishin and the Rasengan, and according to the others, Ka-chan's katana is in the Senju armory." Naruto pocketed the scrolls as the clone went to the library to read about other things. He exited the compound along with Jiraiya. 3 days later, Naruto walked into the mission assignment desk to get himself a mission after a pretty interesting week. He got his date with Sakura-chan. He explored the Senju library along with the Senju armory, and even retrieved his mother's katana, which was named as the Yuzuno Sozukujin, heir of the whirlpool, which he sealed on the back of his right hand under his glove to be safe from any questions or suspicions. The seal was a red Uzumaki swirl, simple yet effective. He entered the room and saw Hiruzen along with Irika, which confused him as Tsunade was Hokage, so she should be giving out the missions. "Ah, Naruto-kun, here for a mission I see," said the Sandame. Naruto just sighed and nodded, getting the Sandame to frown along with Irika, as it was not like Naruto at all. "I have a B-rank, potential A-rank mission here that Tsunade gave me to give to you. The details should be inside the scroll," said the Sandame, as he handed Naruto a scroll, drawing a surprised and bewildered look from Irika. Naruto unrolled and read the scroll. It was a mission to go and kill Rokusho Aoi, and as a side bonus, his partner Marino Ide if possible, but the main mission was to retrieve the Raijin no Ken, Sword of the Thunder God, from him, which he stole with the help of his mentioned partner. He saw that he was allowed up to 3 teammates. He rolled the scroll and left to gather his teammates for the mission. Teammate training grounds. Kiba, Shino and Hinata along with their sensei Kurenai were doing their regular training, with Kiba practicing his taijutsu along with Akamaru, Shino training with his bugs, and Kurenai giving Hinata a few pointers on her chakra control to improve her Juken, gentle fist, style of taijutsu. Suddenly everyone tensed as the 3 genin were trackers and Kurenai was a jonin. They sensed someone entering their training grounds. Hinata activated her Byakugan and relaxed. Don't worry, it's Naruto-kun. Naruto entered the clearing and saw the four looking at him. He waved at them as the three Benin waved back. He came closer and said, "Sorry Kurenai-sensei for interrupting, but I need to know if Kiba is busy or not." "No Naruto, we are currently training and we are not on any missions, so what the matter is?" asked Kurenai. "I need him for the mission that we are going to go on. Since the invasion, everyone has been taking more missions than usual. Well, except for the genin," said Naruto, earning a mild glare from the Inuzuka. "Don't act like you have become better. I will train and surpass you in no time, and what is the mission about? It better not be a D rank, or even C rank for that matter," said Kiba in his usual prideful manner. "Oh, I think that you don't want to go on this mission. Too bad, and here I thought I can give you a B rank borderline A rank mission to go on your record," said Naruto with a teasing smirk. Suddenly everyone froze except for Kiba, who was contemplating what Naruto just said. Kurenai looked at him and asked Naruto, "Are you sure that you want Kiba to go on such a high-ranking mission, and how did even Hokage-sama give you such a mission?" "He always not my first choice, Kurenai-sensei. I tried to search for his sister first, but she was already on a mission, and taking a clan head such as Sum-sama on such a mission is not on my list, so from the Inuzukas I know, only Kiba was left. So I came to ask him for the mission," told Naruto, earning a playful growl from the Inuzuka, but even he knew that he was way weaker than his mother and his sister. "Okay, I will come, just tell me the details and the duration of the mission so that I can prepare myself," said Kiba. "We have to kill a missing nin called Rokusho Aoi. He is not dangerous, but the weapon he makes him. He has the Raijin no Ken. Our main mission is to retrieve the sword, with the side mission being killing him, and for a bonus, we can also kill his partner Marino Idate, the one who helped him steal the sword. Pack for 2 weeks and I will advise you to use sealing scrolls. Keep enough supplies with you and meet me at the North Gate tomorrow at 7 a.m. You will meet your other teammates there," told Naruto, and watching Kiba nod, he looked away, indicating that it was a Kagebunshin. Everyone was silent for a moment until Kiba exploded, ranting about Naruto and his laziness, while Kurenai just chuckled as they went back to their training, but Kiba kept it easy so that he could be in top form for tomorrow's mission. Next day, the North Gate, 7 a.m. Naruto stood alongside his teammates that he had selected for the mission, namely Kiba, Neji, and Choji. At the start, Kiba was little wary of Neji. Despite knowing that the relations between him and Hinata had improved, he was not as forgiving as Hinata when it came to betraying comrades. Well, it was also because he was an Inuzuka who were fiercely loyal to their comrades. Naruto stood in front of them and said, "Okay, now according to the scroll, Aoi was last sighted in the Chan no Kuni, land of tea. We will go there and search there first before moving to the other surrounding regions. We should arrive there by late night or early morning depending on the number of breaks we take. I assume you have packed the things in order." Watching the three genin nod, he nodded back and they set off to complete their mission. Around noon, Naruto and his team had stopped because of the high temperatures outside and also because they needed a break. They were currently at an inn and still had some distance to cover until they came to the border of the Hai no Kuni. Naruto sat along with the others around a round table with Choji in front of him, Kiba to his left, and Neji to his right. He took out his bingo book from the right pocket of his vest, opened the desired page and threw it to them. They looked at information, getting a bit surprised at Aoi's skill level, and started wondering why the hell it was such a high-ranking mission. Naruto seemed to sense their doubts and answered, "As you may have seen, Aoi's skill is not that of a jonin as he was ranked, but that is without the sword. With the sword, things get more complicated. That is the reason why this mission was given such a high ranking. Only Neji and me and go toe-to-toe against him in taijutsu, and that is because Neji has his Byakugan and I have my stamina. We need to separate him from the sword so that we can easily capture him, and then kill him after some interrogation." The three nodded, and after resting for a bit, they set off again, this time stopping only to regain their breath and drink water. They ran until night came and decided to camp and call it a day. Naruto set up the camp while Neji scanned the area and set up traps around the perimeter. Kiba and Akamaru went to search for some berries as they happened to smell some around, and lastly, Choji went to a nearby river to refill their bottles and get some fishes. Naruto also lit the bonfire and cut 2 trees that they could sit on while eating. The dinner was fairly quiet, with Choji and Kiba asking Naruto questions about being a chunin and the things he had learnt, and Neji listening in. Naruto just divulged the information he wanted, to which Neji seemed to notice but did not say anything about. They ate the fishes, which Choji caught easily due to his Byuban Baika no Jutsu, partial expansion technique. They ate some sweet berries before going to sleep. Naruto took the first watch, with Kiba taking the second, Choji the third, and Neji being the last. They woke up in the morning, and judging by the position of the sun, it was 8 a.m. They then set off again and arrived in the country by 11. They decided to take a break before they started to search for Aoi. So, according to the information I have been able to collect, Aoi seems to be on the Nagi Island, but the problem is that the island is big and also that it rains there frequently, so we all need to stay together as it disrupts my plan to use Kiba's nose as one and Neji's Byakugan. We can now only use the Byakugan to locate him, and still, We will need to be careful as we don't want Neji losing all of his chakra, said Naruto as the three of them nodded. Kiba felt a little down as he was not able to do much to this mission but was uplifted by a few words by Naruto. I want to tell you our plan if we engage him in combat. I will try to knock the sword off his hands along with Neji, and when we are successful in doing so, Kiba will engage him in taijutsu and choji. You will try to restrain him through your jutsu so that we can interrogate him before killing him. The genin nodded, but Choji and Kiba gulped, thinking about killing anyone, while Neji remained unaffected because he already had his first kill on a bandit camp extermination mission. Naruto noticed this and said, don't worry, I will be the one to kill him. You just have to weaken and restrain him while I deal with the sword and Neji. You will engage in battle if your chakra reserves have enough to help you and if you are physically not exhausted. Neji frowned a bit but nodded, knowing that Naruto was right and also that he was the leader of this mission, so he had to listen to him for sure. They then took a boat to get to the island to search for the missing Nin. Nagi Island. The trio landed on the island by the cliffside on the rocks to go and search for the missing Nin. They started from the side opposite to the bridge connecting to Uza Island. Neji was constantly spying with his Byakugan, and as it was not raining, Kiba was also using his nose. Naruto looked up at the sky and nodded to himself. He clapped to get the attention of his team and said, well, looking at the sky, it will not be raining for about days, so we are safe for now. So, now we will split and go according to our primary plan. Kiba and I will be the first team while Neji and Choji will be the other. We are currently on the south side of the island. Kiba and I will investigate the eastern and southern parts while Neji and Choji will investigate the northern and western parts. We will meet at the bridge connecting to the Uza Island and search that island together if we find nothing here. They all nodded and Naruto but his thumb and summoned Gamakichi, who arrived in a puff of smoke and said, yo. Naruto picked up Gamakichi and said, Neji, keep him with you. If you are in any trouble, he can reverse summon himself to me so that we can arrive there as fast as possible. Neji nodded and handed Gamakichi to Choji, who placed him on his head much like Naruto and headed off. After some hours, Naruto and Kiba were resting after searching most of the western part of the island, well, mostly because Kiba did not have Naruto's stamina and needed rest. Naruto meanwhile was cursing himself as he watched the random build-up of clouds. He should have known that a place which was known to have rain would not go many days without it. Kiba also saw this and said, what now, Naruto? It seems like it is going to rain. My and Akamaru's sense of smell is, even though as much as I hate to say it, useless in rain. Choji and Neji must also have sensed this. We don't know how to contact them also. We will continue to search while we can and meet them at the supposed place. We have no other option except that, said Naruto. After that, Kiba and Naruto kept on searching their part of the island, but they did not find Aoi, much to their displeasure. They were currently in the trees, taking shelter from rain. They still had a few more kilometers to go until the end of the island, but none of the three liked rain, especially that much. Aha! This rain, why won't it stop? We have a mission to complete, and we are getting nowhere with that, exclaimed an angry Kiba, with Akamaru growling in agreement. Naruto sighed and kept himself calm, but the rain was already getting on his nerves, and combined with Kiba's ranting, it was just becoming intolerable. He just wanted Kiba to shut up. It was not like he could control the weather using chakra. Damn it, Kiba, just shut up for once. I myself don't enjoy this, but we have to wait for them. We know that they are not in trouble because Gamakichi is still with them and is not with me or at the Mayabokuzen, empty Mayaboku, said Naruto with frustration evident in his voice. Kiba growled but compiled as he knew from Naruto's voice that he himself was frustrated and wanted to get somewhere with this mission, but that was not happening anytime soon if the clouds had any say in it. Half an hour later, lightning started crackling in the clouds and the sounds of thunder reached their ears. Suddenly a lightning bolt struck upon the island and waking up all three of them from their sleep. What the bloody hell was that? Exclaimed Kiba, with Akamaru growling and barking in agreement. Naruto narrowed to eyes towards the place where the lightning fell. He felt that something was definitely out of place here. Suddenly a puff of smoke appeared on his shoulder, startling all three of them. When the smoke cleared, they saw Gamakichi slightly panting and looking distressed. Naruto, you need go to the place where lightning struck now. You friends found that guy with that sword and are battling him. I will explain everything on the way. Naruto nodded and went off with the other two, running towards the western edge of the island where they heard and saw the lightning strike from. So Kichi, what do you want to tell us? Asked Naruto, remembering what the Toad Clan heir had said earlier. When that guy activated his sword, your what are they called? Yes, Hyuga, your Hyuga friend, and I felt the sword giving out a pulse of chakra as if it was sensing its surroundings. After a few moments it started to vibrate in that man's hands and started giving out electricity in all directions. When that man tried to pick it up again, it reacted violently and brushed off his hand with the help of electricity. The lightning bolt was also caused by it. Currently your friends are not in a good shape and that man is also not faring any better. I suggest you watch out for the sword, said Gamakichi, and went back to Mayabokuzen. Silence reigned as they contemplated what Gamakichi told them. It seems like that sword suddenly turned hostile, but something must have happened to cause it. Hey Naruto, I think that the sword must have reacted to someone chakra, as your friend also said that it seemed to sense chakra when it was first activated, said Kiba, earning a yip of agreement from Akamaru. Naruto said nothing and just jumped along the trees towards the destination while thinking, is this why Bachan sent me for this mission? That sword must have reacted to my Uzumaki chakra signature, as it is the closet chakra signature to that of a senju, and from what I have read about the Nidame, it seems like he developed a failsafe of some kind which activated when it sensed my chakra. You are right, Ningen, came a voice he very well knew but was confused hearing it. Kyubi? Of course, don't ask me how, but I know that what you theorized is true. Believe it or not, that is up to you, said the Kyubi, who was also thinking that Naruto was not worthy enough of finding out that he has had previous Jinchuriki also. Naruto and Kiba arrived at the scene and saw Neji and Choji sitting across a tree with burn marks on them, and Aoi on the opposite side of the clearing with a look of rage and pure hatred in his eyes. They looked in the center and saw the Raijin laid on the field with electricity crackling through it. Naruto made a few Kage Bunshin to help the two and restrain the third person in the clearing. Kiba also helped Neji and Choji while Naruto looked at the Raijin thinking about what to do. I could die if my theory is wrong, but the fox also confirmed it. But on the other hand, he may be just looking for entertainment. Well, just fuck it. It's not like that fox will let me die any soon. Naruto started to walk towards the Raijin, and there is no one to stop him as the others are busy and Aoi is knocked out and being tied up by his clone. He takes steps slowly, one at a time, to make sure that the sword doesn't kill him. Naruto stands with the sword at his feet. He just has to pick up the sword to see if what he thought is true or not. He bends down and touches the hilt of the sword. Watching that it has no negative reaction, he picks up the swords and feels that sword checking his chakra. This gains the interest of the others as they see with wide eyes as Naruto casually swings the sword without any negative effects. The electricity crackling through the sword calms down and returns to its normal state. Naruto then stops his chakra flow, making the electricity stop, and puts the hilt of the sword in his Fuinjutsu kit for some reason. He received memories of his clones and turned around and narrowed his eyes at Aoi, who had dispelled his clone and broken free of the restraints. He was snarling and said, that sword is mine, give it back to me. I don't know what happened earlier, but I will show that sword its place, trying to fight with me. Kiba, go back with Neji and Choji to the docks. They are not in the condition to fight. You are to protect them. If this freak has any other comrades, I will fight him, said Naruto while taking a kunai out of his holster and channeling his wind chakra to further enhance it. Kiba shockingly agreed and left along with Neji and Choji, with Akamaru running behind him along with some Naruto clones. Aoi snarled watching this, thinking that Naruto does not think of him as a threat. He yelled, you weakling, I will show you your place, and rushed towards Naruto with a kunai in hand. Naruto brought his kunai forward, and when they made contact, Naruto's kunai sliced through Aoi's. Watching this, Aoi tried to do a roundhouse kick to Naruto from his right foot, but Naruto read his movements easily and used his right hand to stop his foot and caught onto it. Naruto grabbed his ankle and flipped his backwards, where he landed on the ground on his back. Naruto made a few hand signs and thought Katan, Ryuka no Jutsu, fire release, dragon fire technique. Naruto had to use a lot more chakra even by his standards due to the rain and the surrounding, but managed to target Aoi, who just burned from the impact. But when the fire cleared, there was not Aoi but a piece of wood, showing that he had substituted himself. Naruto jumped back to avoid an incoming punch from Aoi, who rushed at him from the trees and landed on the ground after the failed assault. Naruto was now contemplating his options in his head. Damn it, his taijutsu is as good as me. He was not an academy instructor for nothing. I have not completed Suiton manipulation. Katan uses a lot of chakra in these surroundings. Right-un will affect me due to this rain, and there are no futon techniques I can use because they are not as offensive. Use that damn sword. I thought that you were a foolish container, but now it is confirmed, said the Kyubi from the seal. Maybe the fuzzball is right. I can use that sword, and if I am right, Aoi can hold it in my presence, thought Naruto, and pulled out the hilt of the sword from his Fuinjutsu kit, making Aoi snarl. Naruto activated the sword and saw that it was in its bright yellow color like normal instead of being violent and throwing electricity everywhere. Naruto gripped the sword and removed his seals while thinking, damn it, I really am an idiot. I could have released these seals earlier, but no, I have to forget. And damn it, I also forgot about my chains. Well, it doesn't matter now. I get to try a legendary weapon and have my first kill using it. Ignoring the mad laughter inside his head of a certain fox, he crouched and rushed at Aoi with full speed, surprising him before swinging the sword towards the right, beheading him in the process. He then deactivated the sword and placed it inside his kit again. A/N, think of sleeping Zenitsu attack. Just like that, but different surroundings, weapons, etc. Aoi's head fell onto the ground as Naruto had a distant look in his eyes due to his first kill. He sealed the sword hilt and Aoi's head inside 2 separate scrolls and burned the remaining of his body as the standard procedure. When he reached the edge of the island, the rain had stopped and the sun was shining in the sky. He, along with his teammates, departed for the mainland to rest and return home. A few days later, in the Hokage office, Neji and Choji were in the hospital, Kiba had returned to his clan compound, and Naruto was in the Hokage's office giving his report of the mission as the superior in the rank. He told Tsunade and Hiruzen everything except for the fact that he had killed Aoi, but they were not legendary ninja for nothing, and Hiruzen was not called the professor for nothing. "Naruto-kun, what happened to Aoi?" asked Hiruzen in his usual calm tone. Naruto did not answer but gained a distant look in his eyes and placed the scroll with Aoi's head on the table, which had mountains of paperwork on it. Both quickly understood what had happened and knew that they had to comfort Naruto over his first kill, as it happened with everyone after their first kill. "Shizen, take the scroll and cash in Aoi's bounty at the bounty station. After that, tell them to transfer the money to Naruto's bank account," said Tsunade to her apprentice/assistant. Shizen nodded and left the room with the scroll. As soon as she left, Tsunade walked up and hugged Naruto, burying his head in her cleavage, making Hiruzen grin a little perversely. "Tell me everything that happened, will you?" asked Tsunade in a calm voice resembling a mother or a grandmother. "I saw his eyes, they looked at me as if I was some sort of a murderer. The QB did not help either, feeding me horrific images in my dreams about its killing, and after that, the memories of the villagers came, calling me demon, freak, monster, and other things. After that came the worst, the memories of loneliness. All the times I cried about it, all the time I wondered why I never had any parent, they still haunt me, Bachan. They keep on coming back," said Naruto with tears leaking out of his eyes. Tsunade hugged him even tighter and whispered into his ear, "Don't worry, you have people now who care for you, Naruto. I am there, Sensei has always been there, Jiraiya, Shizen, Sakura, your friends. You don't have to worry about being alone ever again. Now smile and show me why you are my favorite brat." Naruto nodded and pulled away from the hug and smiled while wiping his tears. This beautiful moment was interrupted due to a certain self-proclaimed super pervert giggling perversely from the window and taking notes in his notebook. "My student is gold, he got the pleasure of Tsunade's. I have tried for years and still could not get it. Oh, and he is a great research material also," said Jiraiya while crying anime tears due to sadness and happiness. Tsunade and Naruto scowled and rushed towards the man who was sent flying by Tsunade's punch and Naruto's Rasengan. Tsunade then dismissed Naruto, telling him that she is entrusting the sword to him like the necklace and expects him to use it well. Naruto nodded and went off to rest and possibly train a bit after that. What if Naruto is denied training by Kakashi bashing? And thanks for watching my video till the end. If you enjoyed this content, then do consider subscribing to my channel, and leave a like if you guys need the next part. Comment down, and thanks for watching the video, and see you guys in the next video.